Today is the 6th day of February 2025. Good morning and welcome to the AM show on Joy News, your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. We're about to tell you what we have lined up for you this morning. We'll start by serving you the AM news, and after that we'll sit with our guests to review the newspapers. And joining us for that this morning, C'tee Sitting, former PRO of the Ministry of Education, and Benjamin Kofi Kwashi, he's chairman, NDC Council of Elders, South Africa. They join us to review the newspapers, and after that, Muftan Abel Abdullahi will serve you AM Sports. Ben will tell you about our big stories.
Well, then, in our big stories, that special committee investigating the vetting chaos is now in limbo, as the chairman of the committee has pointed to the minority as orchestrating the bizarre suspension of the public hearing, saying it was not ordered by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. We'll bring you these and other related matters. But there's something to do with US aid. Sweetie, would you like to tell us?
Yes, you know that all workers of the United States Agency for International Development around the world are to be placed on leave beginning tomorrow, Friday, 7th of February 2025. The question on our mind this morning, what is the fate of the numerous projects in the country and their beneficiaries, and that $2 billion that accrue to farmers yearly in the United States because of the activities of USAID. Now, we will analyze these issues and many more. You want to join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV. Folks, welcome aboard the AM show. Let's start with the AM News now. Hi, I'm Sweetie Aboshi and this is the AM News. Let's get right into the details. The public hearing of a special committee set up by Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin to investigate the chaos at the appointment committee last Thursday has come to an abrupt end. It follows the decision of Minority Leader Alexander Penyumakin, who pulled two of his members who served on the committee as well, ordering NPP MPs against testifying before the committee. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante has the rest of the story.
The special committee set up by Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin to investigate the chaos at the appointment committee has gotten to work. It first heard from Kwame Govern Sagboja, a former Majority Chief Whip, now Roads Minister, and also Jifa Ablagumashi, the Minister for Tourism and Creative Arts. These two NDC MPs were at the appointment committee on the day this happened. They were identified by the committee to explain what exactly they saw.
Anybody says we were originally to vet 3, we give in an added 1, making it 4, and somebody is trying to make it 5. That is not entirely the situation. It's an unfortunate situation. I totally support the action of Mr. Speaker.
On that fateful day, I saw the absence of tolerance. I saw the absence of camaraderie. I saw the absence of the respect for this institution called the Parliament of Ghana.
The first Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Appointment Committee, Bernard Ahiafo, also took his turn before the committee. In his testimony, he repeated claims he has made in the media that it would appear that the Minority Leader, Alexander Penyumakin, incited his colleagues to behave the way they did at the committee.
Asked the Minister designate for Health to take his seat. It was there that I realized that we are tired, we will not do Honorable Akando. Akando will not be vetted today in a very rowdy manner. I heard the Minority Leader requesting that they should call some people into the vetting room. And in no time, they started walking to the vetting room. So I realized that they were under some kind of instruction from their leader to do certain things. There are some instances where my ranking member will ask their side that they should all stand up and put on the microphone. And by putting on the microphone, all other microphones will be disabled. And you cannot do anything when all the microphones were on. So
the clerk to the appointment committee, Madam Gifty Jage Goba, who have become the center of attacks, in particular from the NPP side, also testified and explained what happened through her own eyes.
I was looking at the chair. What is the directive? Waiting for prompting. But then my boss, the clerk to parliament, was also there. And then the insults and disruption started. You have asked that I shouldn't go into that, so I went. And so I was shocked. I was still standing. If you look at the video, you could see the shock on my face. He kept, screaming at me. I should let the nominee take the oath. My minority leader was also screaming and yelling. I don't want to go into it because you've asked me to, so we've all watched the video, and the video is there to speak clearly.
Her testimony did not even end, and the chairman had to intervene. Apparently, the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomakin, had pulled his members from the committee and instructed other NPP MPs against coming to the committee to testify, which has led to the abrupt suspension of the committee.
The clerk of parliament has instructed that we should suspend the sitting until further notice, and therefore I want everybody to be aware that it is not the committee that has decided to stop, but the clerk to Parliament of Ghana has requested that until he get further instruction from the speaker, the committee should suspend his sitting. Along the line, he requested that he want to meet with his leader. And so we're told, when he came back, he said the leader asked him to recuse himself and not to be part of the meeting again. We had one of the witnesses from the other side who was coming, and later on sent a text message that he will not come again because his leader said he should not come.
The committee now expects to get further guidance and directives from the Speaker of Parliament, who we understand now is currently out of the country, and that will inform the way forward as whether or not the committee will proceed to do further work or completely truncate the work it has done so far. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Residents of Ablekuma North constituency are calling for restraint as both Irabna Obin and Ikuefriye have erected billboards claiming victory. The Electoral Commission has yet to declare the final results of the Ablekuma North election after several failed attempts to conclude the collation process, which had been marred with violence. But before the EC could proceed any further, both candidates have erected billboards thanking constituents for electing them. James Abeji visited the constituency and filed this report.
This is Kwashiman traffic light at the heart of Ablekuma North constituency. Now, 2 months ago, a constituent went to the polls just as anyone across all other constituencies in the country to elect both presidential and parliamentary candidates. But 2 months on, they are yet to get a representation in parliament. That is because the Electoral Commission, after several attempts, is still yet to declare a final winner of the parliamentary elections in this particular constituency.
After multiple collation attempts amid chaos and drama, the EC has been able to collate 280 out of the 281 total polling stations. A final attempt on January 17 had to be suspended because NDC supporters invaded the coalition center and vandalized the place. While the EC is looking for ways to resolve the impasse, the NDC's Irabna Obin and the NPP's Ikuefriye are both claiming victory, saying thank you to voters for electing them. In the middle of this busy intersection, Irabna's billboard stood side by side Ikuefriye and Dr. Baumier's campaign billboard with the inscription, "Thank you, Ablekuma North constituency, building Ablekuma North together." Just 200 meters away from this footbridge overseeing the highway, Ikuefriye also erect her own billboard side by side Irabna and John Mahama's campaign billboard with the inscription, "Ablekuma North constituency, I am grateful. Ikuefriye MP-elect Ablekuma North." A number of similar billboards are put up at several vantage locations across the constituency. Beyond these billboards, the two are currently on a thank you tour. For some residents, these actions may disrupt the peace of the constituency.
And NDC is claiming victory, and the NPP is also claiming victory. Meanwhile, the final result is not declared. We, the youth, want peace, so we appeal to them to exercise restraint. They are all saying thank you to voters when there is no declaration. We want them to wait for the EC so that there will be peace.
Others also believe the EC's delay is not only denying them representation in Parliament, but development as well.
The Electoral Commission has to work on this to declare the winner for the voters to know who their leader is. Because when it comes to development, it's the leader who will lobby for development from the government and bring it to the constituency. So now, as Ablekuma North, they are orphans. They don't know where to go or who to talk to. It's not a good thing at all for Ablekuma North.
It is still unclear how long the constituents of Ablekuma North would have to wait to get representation in the House of Legislature. From Ablekuma North constituency here in Accra, I am James Savage for Joy News.
Away from that, a team of researchers from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has unveiled an innovative and sustainable method for producing high-performance batteries using taro, that is cocoa or brobe peels. Now, this cost-effective and environmentally friendly process has the potential to revolutionize the energy storage industry. The innovation, highlighted in the journal Energy Storage, utilizes advanced scientific processes to convert taro peels into activated carbon with enhanced performance. Dr. Daniel Inframa Ampong, the lead researcher and a member of the KNUST Center for Engineering Materials Research, explained their approach, and there's more in this report.
We carried out a project using local available material, that is waste, to make energy storage material. We synthesize activated carbon from taro, which is locally known as brobe or sukoko in our local dialect. With this material, it contains some properties or functional groups that we perceived would enhance the properties of storage devices. The commercially available activated carbons that we have or that is in the market are usually synthesized from chemicals that are toxic, they are hazardous, and some of them, even the synthesis route is cumbersome and expensive. So we decided to come down to our level and then use the process that we use for producing charcoal in our villages. So in our villages, what they do is that they have the log, and then they pack the log, wheat on it, and then cover it with sand. The purpose of doing that is to create some enabling environment to prevent it from turning into ash. So we also mimic the same principle. We use, in the lab, we have crucibles. So we use the crucibles, we embedded one in the other, and then we put sand on it to mimic the processes that we use to produce the charcoal. And at the end, we were able to synthesize the activated carbon, which had similar properties to the commercially available activated carbon that is in the market. So with that, we tested its electrochemical performance using 3 electrode system and then the 2 electrode systems. So we have cells that we use in our batteries. So we try to produce the cells so that we can test the applications in the real life environment. So I have a flameless candle which operates with a 3 volts battery. So I also used my cell in order to check whether it can perform the function of the commercial batteries that we have. And then when I tested, it was able to operate for some minutes, even after cycling. So cycling, basically, we want to, for our phones, And then our laptops, what we do is we charge, and then we use it for some time. When the battery dies or when the battery is low, then we charge again. So we did the same thing for the cell. After we tested for some time, 10,000 cycles, I took the cell out and then also tested using the flameless bulb to check whether it can work. And it still worked for about 1.5 hours after we did that. Wow.
So there has been a lot of development in trying to use these bio-waste material mostly to derive our carbon. The plan is we want to get some eco-friendly way of creating energy. And this is what we are looking at in our lab. I mean, going forward, we know that there is an opportunity in this area. If we build on the expertise, then we can now look at how to scale it up and how to make an impact. We are a little bit far from building our own batteries, but we are close to understanding how we can do these things.
Over a month after the Kantamanto fire, traders have managed to erect their wooden stalls, but they remain empty due to a lack of funds. According to the traders, they've not received any financial support from their leaders, despite donations from philanthropists. They've been sharing their struggles with my colleague, Sarah Mensah, underlining the challenges they face in rebuilding their businesses. She tells you more.
Lost 1.6 billion. I have 2 warehouses, all is bent.
We haven't received anything. Me, I haven't received any donation.
Minimum 117 base. Nini na shimenya bakumpo. Omajiji sky say minimum sister moji 15 million.
This is how they've been managing since the fire engulfed their shops a little over a month ago. According to our earlier reports, the traders began reconstruction just a few days after the fire. Today, we are back at the market to assess how far they have come in rebuilding. Okay, so I have with me here some of the traders who have been able to put up the structure, but money to buy the bills is a problem. Madam, it's saying. So, me who say wo structure and where is in fine, but a higher empty. I didn't hear.
So say a casca, you're the best at business, no, because the car, your name man she and skaka cry. If I start a wire hono, and on a day I bought a patano near my name. May my patami womi.
I don't have money to start a business. The only money I had is what I used to put down the structure. So I don't have money to buy bills to sell. I spent 1,300 cedis to put this down. Even the roofing sheets, they are asking us to pay for. We can't even seek help from friends and family because they think we've received donations.
Minya shim free obi ho kakra na wo me ho no eno na metumi dia ye kakra mitimi nti ese yaka sika bia me de be kwa akofa bill ba akumienu bi na mababa betena ho.
I have a shop here. You can go there and see right now. All is bent. Not me alone. All of us here, our goods are bent. But they said they are coming to donate something for us. We have learned, we have seen that they have come to donate something. We have not received anything. We have not received anything. They collected 10 million from me before they gave me this stake and the ceiling. The rest of the things like you are saying, we have to do it ourselves with our own money. Please look at me. If I've worked for over 15 years and I have to go on pension, in fact, this year I said I have to go on pension. Look at what has happened. I don't have.
After Christmas, no me de me baby Bedzrah.
Due to Christmas, I used all my money to buy bills, hoping there was going to be a good market. But unfortunately, I lost everything in the fire. Life has become very difficult for me. I only got some assistance from someone to reconstruct my shelf.
So we are currently here with the chairman of Railway Number 2, Mr. Akoto Boate. I know that you've received some donation from philanthropists. Cheddar is one of them. Also, Dr. Baumia, former vice president. But your people are still crying that they haven't received any money from you.
No, of course, it's true. Because the money has been not distributed. All the money we are going to create what do you call it, account before sharing it.
How far have you gone with creating the accounts? Because these people are agitating. I spoke to some of them a few minutes ago, and they are saying that they haven't received any money. They have to use their own money to do the restructuring. So how far have you gone with creating the account?
We are all combined ourselves. All the situations have become into compromise. So we have executive members who are those going to, open the accounts. After the accounts, then we will come to share the money for those people who have been, have to share to them.
Okay, so why do you think it's necessary to open an account before distributing the monies to them?
We always query for that, because we have, as at now, if you enter inside, you don't have even a penny to pay a carpenters.
This is where we are right now. Some have managed to get back on their feet, but others have not. Until that support comes, they would have to hold on. Reporting live from Kantamanto, Accra, Sarah Mensah for Joy News.
Great report there from my colleague Sarah Mensah. But moving on, fire has destroyed a 13-bedroom house and properties of inhabitants in the Oforikrom Garline community in the Ashanti region. According to the residents, the fire started around midday on Wednesday and raged until the intervention of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology fire station to avert spreading to nearby houses. There's more in this report.
There was no casualty in the latest fire incident in the Ashanti region. Eyewitnesses described how the community quickly mobilized to contain the blaze before professional help arrived. We had a lot of people helping before the fire service arrived. The fire really brought down all the structures. It nearly extended to the next house. We cannot count our losses in this extensive fire.
For now,
For now, I can say everything in the house is gone. We were fortunate that the kids here had gone to school at the time the fire started. The incident has left victims stranded. Madam Asana, whose sister was affected, said they could not pick a single item from the room. They couldn't pick anything from their rooms. It's painful for a family to lose their fortune in a single day. How are they going to survive? The fire service brought the fire under control within 2 hours and has launched investigation into the cause of the fire. The Ashanti region has already recorded 183 fire cases since the beginning of 2025. Major markets, including Kejetia Market, Asafo Market, and Kwadasu Wood Market, are the most impacted. For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabua.
More women's groups in the Upper West region have vehemently rejected the 33 names shortlisted for consideration by President Mahama for the positions of municipal and district chief executives. The latest group to express their anger and rejection of the shortlist is the Association of Upper West Regional Female Traditional Leaders. Out of the 33 names shortlisted by the Upper West Regional Vetting Committee, none of the 7 women who applied for the vacant MDCE positions were included. The shortlist has sparked shock anger and disbelief among women and civil society organizations who are calling on President John Mahama to reject the list, review the selection criteria, and appoint competent women to these positions in the region. There's more in this report by our Upper West Regional Correspondent, Rafiq Salam.
The Upper West Region's Pongamini then turned their attention to the recent vetting of prospective municipal and district chief executives in the region by the Upper West Regional NDC Vetting Committee, which quickly flashed out the names of the 7 women who applied for the top job, making it an all-men affair. Bolipona Haja Afisatu Salia speaks for the Association of Traditional Female Leaders in the Upper West region.
The appointment of MMDCs is a prerogative of the president. We, however, find it deeply concerning that not a single woman was deemed fit for consideration. It cannot be said that women in the region lack the competence to hold such strategic positions, especially when women have been previously appointed as MMDCs in the region, and many others have excelled in leadership roles at the national level. This setback not only hinders progress, but also slows down the realization of the target of the affirmative action, into brackets, Gender Equality Act, particularly in the Upper West region and across Ghana.
They concluded by making the following appeal to President Mahama.
We respectfully call on His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, through the relevant appointment authorities, as a matter of necessity, review the selection criteria to ensure the inclusion of women among those shortlisted for appointments as MMDCs. We also like to use this medium to appeal to the President to consider appointing at least 30% of women as government appointees into the municipal and district assemblies. This is a necessary step towards fostering gender inclusivity in our local governance structures.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Let's get into a business update now with Benjamin Akapo.
Thank you for staying for business. To kickstart matters, let's head into our currency market. And on our sole story for you this morning, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana has asked government to consider investing more in the agri-sector to complement its intervention policies of attaining food security. This advice follows the decision by U.S. President Donald John Trump to enforce a global freeze on U.S. foreign aid to developing countries, including Ghana, for 90 days. Now, Ghana this year requested a total amount of $137.7 million, of which $33 million had been allocated to the agri sector. Now, commenting on the development, CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, Anthony Morrison, said government had to show commitment in achieving self-sufficiency.
Will also be the agriculture for economic transformation, which is embedded in 24-hour economy. So I think what is needed now is the commitment of government to invest in the priority sectors of the country, and also to make sure that we are aligning our priorities in a way that will drive a more competitive advantage within the West Africa service, because we do a lot of cross-border trade, and the West Africa agriculture trade must be seen in a way that the country is actually being competitive, and we are driving the food security of this country.
Let's head into our commodities market now. Thank you for saying it's a wrap for business. Back to you, Sweetie Abochi.
That's it for the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. Let's get into our news review now, because Kwesi Kwating, former PRO for the Ministry of Education, joins us, as well as Benjamin Kofi Kwashi, Chairman, NDC Council of Elders, South Africa. Please stay. We'll be right back.
Well, thank you for staying with us. This is the news review on the AM show. Sweetie Abochi, my colleague, is here with me, but our guest joining us this morning, Kwesi Kwating, is former PRO Ministry of Education. We also have Benjamin Kofi Kwashi, Chairman of the NDC's Council of Elders, South Africa. Both of them join us in the studio. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
By God's grace, here we are. It's another day. Sweetie?
Yes, you know how we do it. We give you each a minute, 2 minutes at most, to walk us through any topical issue you want to reflect on. Let me start with Mr. Kwating. Kwesi, what's on your mind this morning?
Oh, what's on my mind is about Ministry of Education, because maybe I came from there. I'm mostly interested in their stories. I think it's on the training allowance, whether or not it's going to be maintained. Apparently, there was a publication by Daily Graphic yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, yesterday I was not here, so but I'm sure you people might have seen or reviewed it.
Yeah.
And in the said publication, if you recall, they said they are going to replace with enhanced
student
loan. And subsequently, of course, if you are replacing by enhanced student loan, before you can replace something, it means that you may have to remove it before you replace it. So, I mean, the whole idea of whether or not cancellation. But I mean, for me...
But the minister said it wasn't going to be immediate. It's an interim measure, and that it's going to be... They are looking at how to operationalize it.
Yes. I think a lot of the argument that has been advanced in that regard has always been that it's outlived its usefulness. Because if you look at the history...
That is the allowance?
Yes, because people argue that it was introduced by the incumbent administration to motivate a lot of people to take up teaching roles and teaching opportunities, particularly the time when people were leaving the country to see greener pastures.
Right.
But for me, I am of the view that it's still relevant, not for the politics of it. On principle, I wouldn't have been for it. I don't also agree to the reason why adults will be in school and you have to give them an allowance. But
Dr. Peter Anti yesterday was saying...
But my opinion and my dissent is that, you see, until we really address the disparity in terms of teacher posting and teacher placement, particularly between the rural areas and the urban areas, between the north and also the south,
right,
we may still have to maintain this allowance in the interim to bond teachers so that we are able to place them to places where government so wishes. Other than that, you place teachers, they are not bound, they are not within any bond with the government, and they may elect to go to places that you post them or not. So I am of the opinion that yes, in terms of the purpose for which this allowance was introduced, it may have outlived its usefulness, but within the current context where it bonds teachers, government is able to place them where we are talking about teacher-student ratio in rural communities within the northern belt and the southern belt, I feel there is a conversation that we need to be we need to be slow on and have it broadly. If you ask
just to add, Dr. Anti also suggested in line with that, for example, there are areas where, like the local languages, Gadangbe and the rest, there's a paucity of teachers, Dagbani and the rest. I remember I read Dagbani, African at the University of Ghana. Oh, all I remember is Gombalma and Kumbalma. which I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. That's all I remember.
I schooled in the north. My first graduated in Tamale, so I know Desiba, Kumalma, Kumala. Are you hungry?
Okay.
Those basic.
Okay. Thanks for bringing it on. So he was saying that, but there should be something like maybe scholarships to encourage those in the linguistic areas, language-related, the languages, because there's a shortage of them, and then allow them to at least be backed up by scholarships while still phasing out the allowance bit.
Yeah, but I have a question. You see, on one side, I mean, I want to see whether the principle behind this thing compared to other policies may be justified, because at the end of the day, it's always about protecting the public space and managing funds or public funds well. You see, on one side, allowance has outlived its usefulness. But on the other side, the government said, hey, look, I'm promising to refund first-year school fees to them. I don't know why you are unable to pay 400 cedis, where 200 cedis goes into feeding component. But you will be able to go and pay 4,000 cedis.
Does the bit to do with the first year, I've forgotten the exact
no fee
no, I remember that. But I'm saying, does it include teacher trainees as well?
No. These are university students, these are College of Education students, even though they are now doing degree.
Yeah. Because I got a bit confused when you were saying that, because they are not.
No, but I am saying that the government's ideology and their policies is that on one side, they want to manage public funds well because they feel that the allowance has outlived its usefulness. People are not supposed to be paying the allowance while they are in school. On the other side, they make a U-turn and say that, well, we want to save 350 million every year, but then we want to pay more for university students who are already in school.
But you can't take away everything. Plus, it was a promise they made, wasn't it?
You see, at the university level, there is also a student loan scheme there. So what is the essence of also? I mean, if you recall, I made a social media post that to make a case that the allowance is draining the country financially and it's outlived its usefulness, but then make a U-turn to go and pay university students higher and costlier fees. I really don't get it. But of course, I'm not the government, so I can only make my opinions known and then.
And that's what we do, and hopefully.
Mr. Kwashi, let's get into your thoughts.
Make an impact.
I think when you look at what the minister said, it's been paraphrased here that he says there's no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level, so we have to work out a transition from allowance into an enhanced student loan for them to feed themselves. And also he spoke about ensuring sustainability of government spending in the educational sector, whilst also fostering a sense of independence among teacher trainees. I think that, like my good brother said, we need to look at how to integrate it in a way that benefits everybody. The NDC, through its manifesto, indicated that we were going to review it. I'm sure that the minister has also given the assurance that it is not something that is implemented immediately. It's a transition toward it. And I'm sure that he would also be picking up what the general public, the Ghanaian public, think is right when it comes to this whole feeding and teacher training allowances things. But one thing I know for a certainty is that the Honorable Haruna Idrisu is open up to a lot of consultations. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, what will benefit the students most is what he will go for.
Thank you. Yeah. Brief and straight to the point. Now, gentlemen, you all have newspapers, so let me get straight on to myjoyonline.com and let's do some stories from there. There are so many stories. You know, myjoyonline.com is your go-to news portal. Mahama to reinstate July 1st as public holiday. There's also Samuel Jinapor denies calling Zanito Rawlings daughter of a murderer. Yeah, that was a very bizarre audio video, in fact, that we saw coming from Parliament. Someone asking Zanito to sit down and said, daughter of a murderer, sit down. Well, they said it was Samuel Jinapor. He says he's not the one who said that. Current gold for oil program will be discontinued. So these three stories, let me start with the public holiday that Mahama wants to reinstate for July 1st. And President John Dramani Mahama has announced his intention to reinstate July 1st as a statutory public holiday, restoring its significance as Republic Day and Senior Citizens Day in Ghana. But I listened to him, and he also says it will be a day for Thanksgiving and prayer. Gentlemen, how do you feel about this, Mr. Kwashi?
I think that it's been coming. July 1st has always been, as the NDC has always celebrated it. I think that I've said somewhere that these issues of us nationalizing holidays, we should do it with consensus building as well. I'm sure that when the statutes declare that it should be a public holiday, and now he has added Thanksgiving to it,
Do we need that? We need a Thanksgiving and prayer day.
Of course. Our country is a Christian, not entirely Christian country, but the majority of us are Christians. Thanksgiving, you know, we wanted to build a cathedral. And I don't think that Thanksgiving will take much from the national resources. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I'm sure that it's something that the good people of Ghana will be appreciative of.
Okay. Kwesi. I saw you smiling. Yeah, here we go. What is terribly wrong with it, you know, a day for prayer and Thanksgiving?
Well, I mean, I'm going to disappoint you here.
Okay.
I'm not going to toe that line anyway. But I mean, let me say that even before this note, I want to congratulate my good friend, Dr. Clement Apak, for his nomination into the Ministry of Education. I mean, when we were there, he was criticizing us a lot, so we are wishing him all the best. We'll also be there to also constructively criticize him. And I must also admit on TV my admiration for the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu. I mean, it's my view that he just happens to be a victim of circumstance to make some unpopular decisions. It may have its consequences, whether good or bad, but I mean, I respect him, I admire him. I also cherish, I mean, his nature of building consensus, and I wish him all the best.
Right.
Now, on public holiday, well, my opinion is that, of course, in terms of the optics, maybe he may be getting it right. Mr. Mahama may be getting it right. Of course, he indicated from the premise of his campaign and the mantra that he's coming to reset. So for me, looking at our political environment, it hasn't really come as a surprise. Just that my major concern, if I'm a Ghanaian, may not so much be anchored on holidays. It will be more on whether or not within a space of January till, I mean, today happens to be 6th February, whether or not I am able to afford my fuel. Because my understanding, of course, your producers may educate me, that fuel prices have gone up on 3 different occasions. This is very prominent and more profound issue than maybe holiday issue. Whether or not gakenke is reducing, the price of gakenke is reducing. These are the most important issues that, as a Ghanaian, I may be interested. Of course, when it comes to subject matter of holiday, I mean, it will affect me. But in terms of what my priorities are, will be more in the price of gakenke, the price of fuel. Of course, you are aware that as soon as fuel is increased, it affects almost all other items because it serves as the base variable that influences other things. So yes, from the context of the reset agenda, it doesn't really come as a surprise. But for me, I'm not sure I'm so right to advise. I am of the view that the optics is getting too many. You should get to work. And
is your view that he's not actually working yet? He hasn't started the work.
I mean, there are some instances that you criticize them. They say, we just came into power, just want to give us space to work. But I'm saying that, I mean, for me, it's a non-issue. Okay. The very important issues are the bread and butter issues that we are expecting to be addressed. Prices of fuel, production, when it has to do with the 24-hour economy, creating jobs for the ordinary Ghanaian. Those are, for me, the most fundamental issues. As for holiday, whether you create it or you don't create it, I will enjoy. It has more to do with removing it from day A and bringing it to day B, which for me is still within a holiday within the year.
Okay. Ben, quick comments on that before we go to other stories.
Kwesi, holidays, I feel just like with the flip-flopping when it comes to Jubilee House and Flagstaff House, we should get to the point where we stick to one. Because I've said, I'm sure when we change, every time we flip the name, do you know how much it costs us even for stationery? Stationery alone. So we should decide on something and let it be. That's my sentiment on this holiday bit. What now is Nkrumah Memorial Day. Let's celebrate the man. I feel Founders Day is Founders Day, but different strokes for different folks. A holiday, like Kwesi says, is a holiday, and we'll enjoy it. But when you talk about the current administration, the NDC has its 120-day manifesto, right? Or 120-day social contract, right? And some of those things, at least you go for low-hanging fruit, and some of those have been tackled, including this Muslim holiday and everything in between. But when you talk about the prices of items, over 8 years, I mean, in some places you would get kenke for 1 cedi, 2 cedis. In some places currently, you're buying it for 5 cedis, 7 cedis, 10 cedis. If you go to the kenke boutiques, you are getting it for maybe even more. I don't think, Kwesi, you're trying to say that someone can come into power and then within even 3 months, these are going to change. If you look at it realistically, on economic terms, it doesn't take any administration, not just in Africa, less than a year plus to start seeing some changes, even in Argentina with the radicals. So but that would be my only top-up.
If I'm permitted to respond, of course it would be, I mean, unfair and even irrational to expect that the price of kenke reduces. The truth and the reality is that it's never going to reduce. Even I have seen how our governance structure and the, economic dispositions are, at every point is going to increase. But of course, we expect the rate of increase that we'll be able to situate that and have a conversation within that. But my concern,
that's why we didn't want the prices to go up, because once they go up, they don't come back.
Exactly. My concern is that there are more important issues for me. Matters of holiday has to do with ideologies. Okay. And this is just a scheduling and timetable, whether or not it should be this, whether or not it should be that.
But is it not possible to tackle the serious issues while on the others? Can't you do both simultaneously? There are so many things that we've seen. We can talk about gold for oil policy.
Let's
right.
Let's find out. Especially when you are considering.
I've seen some things.
Something is being done. There is nothing wrong. It's the more reason why we are also talking about the fuel. I'm not sure as a Ghanaian, I don't have the right to complain about fuel.
No.
Because I know that whether or not we like it, in a space of 3 months, in a space of 2 months, the price of fuel, when it's consistently increased, can affect my kenke. These are fundamental issues that I believe I should be allowed to talk about.
That we had a conversation sometime last week or 2 weeks ago, and you mentioned that it was about that 2.8 billion, I think, debt relief or something, because some sort of consensus they arrived on.
That's why you didn't want to give the credit to us.
And you said that it's the work that you did that laid the Flint's foundation for them to even secure.
You didn't even admit to give that credit to us. So is it possible that
the work that you did, the Eswell administration, is what's plunged us into this increment we are seeing in the world?
When it's positive, you don't want to give credit to us. When it's negative, you want me to. No, it's a leading question. I won't answer. Let's proceed.
I think that Ben was so right. Early days yet. Today is what, 6th February.
4 years will still come, but
let's not get carried away with early days.
No, we'll not be carried away. The truth is that, like you said rightly, there are policies that are being implemented. And I'm sure that my friend has heard some of these policies, like the gold for oil deal thing. And in the energy sector, we said it, that you were keeping the lights on at a cost. And we were also told that we didn't know what we were talking about until we took over. I'm happy that we've stabilized it. I'm happy that at least the good people of Ghana are seeing some results in terms of what we intend to do. We've not done it all right. Yes, I admit that it should be better than it is today. And who cannot say that we should be able to do this within 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks? We are just taking over government. We are ensuring that we sanitize the whole environment, and after that there'll be a smooth takeoff.
Okay.
Isn't it interesting that when it comes to prices of kenke, the match cannot be done, but when it comes to power sector, the narrative is that you stabilize. Why did you stabilize? You inherited a non-doomsor country, and that's what we are proceeding. No, but Ben, Sweetie, you are all here.
Yes.
We are all aware that our problem as a country has nothing to do with generation. It has more to do with money to buy fuel. End of story.
Okay.
So is the logic that when you came here, there was no money? Where did you get the money from?
Where did you get the money?
To sustain the power?
The first day,
obviously, it's been there.
The first day that we took over government, the first thing we had to do was to solve the mess you created in the energy sector.
I mean, this platform.
But did you listen? Did you listen to the energy minister when he was being vetted? And interesting question.
The day
in October, when that planned maintenance, which now WAPCO and others are going to be undertaking, I think on January the 20th, right? Why did you postpone it?
I don't have insight to that. But what I know and I can speak to is that, you see, all these conversations that we are having, one of the tests that we have to administer consistently, I've always maintained, has to be the logical consistency. It cannot be that you inherit power on the 7th of January and all of a sudden you inherit a doomsday economy and miraculously you've not gone to borrow, you've not presented any budget statement, you've not done any approval, you've not had any money from anywhere, and then you have solved a certain problem.
But I don't think anyone said that the country.
No, he said he stabilized it.
To that there was no money.
No, I am suggesting to everyone that there has not been any stability. What they inherited is what we are witnessing, except to say that they just run a commentary that HFOs are finished, we don't have fuel, and the remaining fuel is going to sustain us for 5 days. How many days now?
But to some extent, I have to agree with you in terms of not much would have been done in the energy sector between the 7th and now. But again, it's all about how you manage different things. And we had to manage to get fuel so that when WAPCO goes off, we're able to manage the situation. But gentlemen, I have a quick thought though. How do you think we're going to handle it? Because some pools of funding are no longer coming to us, including the 137.7 million we're expecting from USAID. Benjamin, I'll start with you on that.
I've been in meetings where the Honorable Gina Paul and other players in the sector have met to discuss other feasible ways of getting things done. One thing I know is that the energy sector is something that is so dear, especially to the Chief of Staff. And so most often he ensures that the players in the sector are all carried along in getting to where we want to get to. We admit that there are certain pools of income that we are not going to get again. But as a government, we need not to use that as an excuse. We should be able to solve the problem that the Ghanaian people trusted us to achieve. So we will not complain. We will not say that we will not be able to get the money so the energy sector will be as it is. We would look for ways, feasible ways, in ensuring that we are able to solve the mess that is there. Yes.
Rosie?
Well, IMF
program.
Beyond the politics.
And he says, okay, so for 90 days, all these funds, no, and you know, our farmers benefit a lot from those things. Even rural, tackling HIV/AIDS, all those things feed into that.
For me, beyond the politics, we should also be able to look into our faces and tell ourselves that we've done some significant thing. Even though we may not be where we want to be, we are definitely not where we used to be. Of course, during this whole power conversation, you did your part. Like I indicated, the fundamental variable that affects this whole thing has to do with money. So I'm not sure it is fair to suggest that you still mobilize money to address the mess that you inherited. That is the politics.
Let's go beyond that, because like you've mentioned, they did their bit.
They did their bit. We are also coming to their bit. But on funding, you see, it is also high time that beyond the politics, we have to admit reality. You see, it will not be proper that right now USAID is not coming in. E-levy is giving about 2 billion a year. Betting tax is also giving you some significant.
You are scrapping that.
Yes, you are scrapping that. We place a SWOT, because at the end of the day, we know that government only generates monies through two main sources, which has to do with taxation and loans. So it's not like there is any magic panacea anywhere where you are going to invent.
The finance minister spoke about, if you look at it holistically, one of our major problems is that we are not taxing people who ought to be taxed in this country.
Yeah.
Just a few people are paying taxes, just as you have a very small component on SNIT. If everybody pays, especially direct taxes as they ought to, and not indirect taxes, because you pay it anyway when you buy credits, when you do this. If enough people are paying direct taxes, we probably wouldn't need some of these streams in the first place. And are you not the same person or people who would also turn around and say, they promised that they would scrap this and they refused to scrap it. It would be the same people.
That's why I'm saying that beyond the politics, we have to grow beyond that. At the end of the day, it's not also a form of tax. You see, we can make all the noise and the conversations about expanding the tax net, but the reality is the reality. I mean, if you have largely an informal economy where you can look into the face of somebody at Makwala and say that person does not earn so much money. So probably there's no system for the person to be taxed. But they look into your face because you have a direct source of income where they can tax. So
while the Makola Mami makes a
lot more than you. We see, until we get there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, every government has promised about increasing the tax net. But the reality is that we are not able to. But for now, you have a very good source of income, e-levy, betting tax. Just be humble enough. But for us, I mean, we'll play the politics of it because you said you're going to cancel it. I know you are not cancelling it. That one, we are all we are aware you are not cancelling it.
We will.
For posterity's sake and for the development of the country, we'll be charitable enough. You proceed and use it. That's what we will say. But if you do gaga, go and cancel it.
If they do gaga.
Sounds like you want to give the NDC a soft landing. They're saying they don't need it.
No, Sweetie, take it from me. It's not something they're going to cancel.
Okay.
It's not something they're going to cancel. Who will do that? Why will you cancel 2 billion and go and replace it with 80 million?
This might interest you, Kwesi Kwarteng. We've mentioned it already, but for the benefit of our audience, current Gold for Oil program will be discontinued, according to the Energy Minister. John Jinapor has served notice of cancelling the inherited Gold for Oil program instituted by the erstwhile administration. And the initiative, which leveraged the country's gold reserves in exchange for petroleum products, has been under intense scrutiny for its lack of transparency. And he said, and he was speaking on PM Express sometime this week, he said the current system, he criticized the current system, stating that it is deeply flawed and will be replaced with a more accountable framework. Kwesi Kwarteng, your thoughts on this?
Well, I do not seek to discredit the Honorable John Jinapor, but I am of the view that he has certain information that I'm not privy to. Maybe if he comes out with a more, lawyers will put it better and further particulars, then we'll be able to maybe address it so well. If you say it lacks transparency, what do you mean by lacks transparency? You should be able to give us more details on what constitutes the opaqueness and also the proposal that you are bringing on board. I mean, if we continue to run a country where whatever we inherit, we demonize it, we may not move forward. I mean, it's the more reason why ordinarily somebody will say, I'm going to clear 2 billion source of income through tax revenues and then go and replace with 80 million through road levy or road tolls. You get it. I mean, but for avoidance of that, recall it was the same with the Honorable Jinapor who, when they won the elections, said the country, the fuel available to sustain the country was only 5 days. How many days now? So I leave it to the jury out there to decide.
I think I've heard even the president has mentioned that they imported fuel.
Which president?
Right? President John.
The president.
But when they inherited the country, they were not going to import fuel.
You know, the conversation during transition was that everything that the erstwhile administration was telling us would be verified, as in, for example, what we are seeing right now.
No, but the 5 days window wasn't true.
Hold on. I'm saying that is what they said or they uncovered when they took over, right? Now, they're saying that the Gold for Oil policy is not meeting the needs of Ghana or whatever reason they set it up, it's not working, and so they're going to cancel it. Besides, don't forget that there's this gold board that they set up, right, which sort of might replace what's happening here. I'm not sure what the dynamics are. But Mr. Kwashi, what are your thoughts on this? Because it sounds like...
During one of the interviews I granted during the transition, I made mention of this Gold for Oil policy because it was during the transition that we saw that a lot of things that we didn't know and they were refusing to give us, there were reasons for it. One, the Honorable Jinapor said that the policy lacks public disclosure on key operational aspects, including transaction details and the criteria for selecting participating companies. Look, it was a good policy when it started. I remember our members of parliament was calling on the previous energy minister to come to parliament with all the details so that the good people of Ghana was in policy think tanks have also asked the same question. But nobody came with the reports that we wanted as a country. Today we are here. Government says that it will end the selective gold for oil policy and replace it with something more pragmatic, something more better in terms of whatever we are getting from the energy sector. And I think that if, as a government, you see, look at the offshore dealings that our people in the MPP had. He says that Jinapor should come up with better particulars. What I'm saying is that you know it. You were in government before we came to take over from you. You've never gone to the public with details of this gold for oil thing. Even in Parliament, Imani Ghana, every time they were asking, come up with everything so that we can all discuss as a country the pros and the cons of it. You never did. So if the minister is telling us today that he's going to end it because of its selective nature, I think that we should give the minister the chance. He says that it will transition to a more efficient oil for gold deal. And as a Ghanaian, you should be happy that we are here today and pat the minister in the back for taking such a bold initiative.
So this is not just demonizing
Not at all.
from here,
Not at all. Not at all. I have stated that there are policies that are good that we should continue. Some we need to work towards enhancing. And that should be...
If you're going to react to that, because I have something better for you. If you're going to react to that, let it be brief. We have to look at the paper.
Just brief, a second.
Briefly, yes.
You see, governance is not all about cancelling everything that you inherited.
Yeah.
There are situations where you can even structure it well and build upon it. But it looks like now training allowance is going. The next thing will be nursing training allowance. Free SHS, I'm told there is a committee to review what, of course, I mean, Mr. Setekwe and Co. made it clear that in terms of the sustainability, it can't cover everyone. These students...
But is it Setekwe and Co.? The World Bank told you that. In fact, the IMF told you that.
I mean, at the end of the day, IMF...
The IMF told you
IMF is not the one running the country.
Free SHS,
IMF is not the one...
IMF
is not the one running the country. At the end of the day, IMF is not the one.
But their money has kept the country running.
Perfect deal.
You have to run to them.
I mean, even before free SHS, we still go to IMF. So what is the point?
Yeah, but
even before free SHS,
at the point where you went, you had no.
I am saying that when free SHS is 9 billion, it's just 9 billion. How much is even e-levy alone giving us? If free SHS from this inception up to now, it's just a little over 9 billion. Right. How much do we even get from e-levy alone? Right. So I want to caution them.
Yeah, briefly,
I want to caution them that the governance is not all about I'm cancelling. Right now, you are enjoying the goodwill. From June, when the government settles and the scandal starts coming up, and people are now holding on to your feet, holding your fire to the feet, and holding you accountable to all the promises that you people have promised. You should be very careful how you are.
As Clemento Suarez says, by June, dear.
By June, we are.
But let me ask you this: so you think we shouldn't? The government shouldn't take away the e-levy, right? Gives us about 2 billion.
See.
No, give me a straightforward. I'm a
Ghanaian first before I became a member of the MPP.
Right.
If you have a stream of revenue, why do you take it off?
Okay. And then you mentioned road tolls and said that, of course, the road tolls, you mentioned 80 million. They give us anywhere between 70 and 80 million. Yeah. So your position is that government should retain the e-levy.
Why will you go and sacrifice 2 billion for 80 million? Who does that?
Okay, that's good. I have a question. Common sense approach. I have a question for you because
the way you are building the question, are you sure you are not putting into trouble?
No. I think it's still practical. You know why? Because if you go to August 2024, Dr. Bawumia, the former vice president, actually said that, yes, in fact, let me quote, prior to abolishing road tolls in Ghana, the government was raking in 70 million Ghana cedis yearly from the collection. However, if everybody pays the tolls, the state could have generated 2 billion Ghana cedis per annum. Guess what? The same 2 billion we are getting from the e-levy.
Yeah, but you see...
So principle?
No, you see, in terms of 2 billion for the road toll... Or,
exactly.
No, but you see, projections, it's just like budgets. When you make allocations, it may not necessarily be that is what you are expending. You may project that I project to mobilize 10 billion, but in reality, you may not get it. So you deal with the actual figures.
But when it comes to the road tolls, we know the number of vehicles we have. We know the traffic that we have. We also know, and he's saying that the caveat there is that if everyone, okay? And I don't know whether everyone means every Ghanaian who uses or, you know, the vehicles and everything. But this clearly means that quoting your campaign, it is possible.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you see, Benjamin, you also have to understand that the road toll then was removed as a, I mean, is it more or less like a concessionary measure to introduce the e-levy? The context also has to be set properly. And the background, that at that time, we felt we needed to mobilize more money. We introduced the e-levy. But I mean, at some way, you also have to let the people feel that you are also hearing them and listening to them. But if the NDC feels that they can still maintain the 2 million,
it be the same strategy? No, that they may be taking away the e-levy because they're listening to the people who say that...
The NDC.
I'm just riding on your own analogy.
The way you went.
You just said that...
Sweetie, I am no longer in opposition. Let me put this straight.
You are not in opposition.
I'm not in opposition. Sorry, I'm no longer in power. I'm no longer in power. I'm no longer in power.
Right.
When I mean, the people that we are supposed to be directing these questions to, now have to take a defensive approach.
Because of what you
you just said.
Can I land?
I'm just putting...
No, can I land?
Yes.
Then DC promised they are going to cancel e-levy and betting tax, right? As a good citizen, I am of the opinion that it won't help the state. If they believe that is good for us, I mean, do I really bother? Because at the end of the day, you see, the context of the conversation is always very paramount. We're speaking about USAID having withdrawn their support. And then you have a stream that is giving you about 2 billion. I'm going to cancel it. Proceed. We are all in this country. Proceed. And let's see how you govern this country. You cancel this, and the next thing you are going to do is then what you are going to see.
What is that?
The 350 million that has been withdrawn from the other cancellation by the Education Ministry, the college teacher training allowance. The next thing will have to be the nursing training allowance.
So you think we are just cancelling without us having a solution? We wouldn't.
Governance is not magic. It's not rocket science. Unless, of course, you tell me that there is some money where you are going to take. Governance is not rocket science. Where are you going to get the money?
Give me the final word of this, and then we move on to other papers.
Very well. So I think, like Ben has also indicated, look, we should be able to carry ourselves along as a country in ensuring that we don't always go for popular initiatives that we think that politics-wise, this is what this government wants to do. This is what. Look, let's look at the good and the bad of all these policies, and then embrace the fact that this is a government that has just taken over. This is a government that came into power based on a manifesto. The things in the manifesto are the things that the party is doing, and I'm sure that as a party, we know what we need to do to alleviate the plight of our people. They've given us the mandate, and we'll not take it for granted.
Okay.
Then cancel e-levy, cancel betting tax.
This is the New Republic.
Okay, maybe let's go.
I am concerned about the senator issue.
Right.
I saw it on, let's see, page 6. It says that attack on Senator Rawlings in Parliament sparks outrage. This is by Professor Kweku Azar, who said that he condemned the verbal attack on the Member of Parliament by an unidentified colleague in Parliament. I have stated, when our members of Parliament called the Honourable Lydia Al-Hassan bloody widow, I'm one of those who condemned it because it is wrong. It should find no place in our politics. That kind of, I have stated it clearly. The records are there to speak for itself. And again, in that same terms, I condemn whoever the person is that said these things. We should grow as a country. This personal attacks, unsubstantiated attacks and others wouldn't grow our democracy. I think that whoever that MP is, obviously we've come to know that it's not Jinapo. He's not the one. And so I'm sure that once Parliament is able to find out who said those things, I'm sure that we should all condemn it in no uncertain terms.
Okay. Where's the question?
Well, I mean, I am of the opinion that it's almost becoming too easy to become a member of Parliament. All you need to do is to be rich, go for primaries, be the highest bidder. I mean, get the endorsement of your party people. If you are within a catchment area where your party is strong in that constituency, you get to be in Parliament. And so
once you win the primary.
Yeah, once you win the primaries.
Clear.
I mean, that has always been the cycle. And without any disrespect to anyone, if you look at the constituents or the people that make up parliament now, even though we may not profess it now, deep within us, we all have our reservations about certain individuals, why you are even in parliament in the first place. I am of the view that broadly we should discuss the monocracy that has taken over our politics, where any person gets any money anywhere. There is no even lifestyle audit about such a person. The person have to rationalize the money, all of a sudden goes for privacy. The next thing you see such a person in parliament and making all manner of comments. Of course, as of now, we've not seen whoever said that. But I mean, this is something that nobody will encourage. It's something that we all condemn. I don't even want to equalize that when this was said or when that was said. Wrong is wrong. So simplicity, it's not a comment that I believe any right-thinking person should associate himself with.
For the sake of time, as we move on, I think Parliament keeps digging, the hole keeps getting deeper.
Yeah.
It appears yesterday when I was listening to the proceedings all through before it was halted, I was just asking myself, how did we end up here? And I wholly agree with you, respectfully. Some people, you don't know how they get there. I've said, for example, the NDC side, back then after Ayawaso West Wogon, the placard, bloody something. I mean, we've come, and then MPP in some instances as well. Why can't we, the insults, why? I don't know. And I don't know maybe it may take some constitutional review to add other things to requirements for becoming members of Parliament before we can get there. But let's quickly look at your paper, very quickly.
Overseer.
Please don't forget to do this story for me. Valentine's Day banned in Goso Traditional Council, and I want to know why.
They want to protect the people. Court overturns arrest warrant against Karen Babasam. Valentine's Day banned in Goso Traditional Council. Here is why. I'm sure we'll go deeper into that. And then President Mahama nominates deputy ministers. I can see the picture of Thomas Nyakon, Richard Jamensa, Retana Odele, N.S. Yao Broja Jemfi. So it means my good friend don't go still.
So Yusuf Suleimana, the Boliban boy legislator, he's got, I think, roads.
Oh, okay.
Deputy, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Then there's
Boliban boy. That was where they were burning the party office.
John Dumelo Agric. And I think it's fitting because of his farming and everything.
Yes.
Quite a number of those. Sremsai for Attorney General.
I think
those are interesting appointments.
And I also see Bawumia was a wrong candidate. We don't want him for 2028.
It says MPP supporters in
Kumasi. And then finally, Emmanuel Anyima appointed Deputy Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission of Ghana.
Let me ask you an interesting question. What do you think the chances are of Dr. Bawumia getting the nod in 2028 for the MPP?
This is a very sleepy question. But, I mean, I think there are processes for it. As of now...
The same processes that affect the MPs, the same processes where money...
Yes, but whichever way, you still have to go through some required processes. And at the end of the day, if I am to make any pronouncements on it, it will be based on speculations.
Right.
Particularly if you look at every election, the dynamics changes. We can only hope that at the end of the day, there will be transparent, fair process. And then the party base decides who leads the party. For me, whoever is elected, whether Dr. Bawumia, I'm also aware Honorable Ken may also come. And of course, we are hearing some interesting names that I don't have their permission to put their names out there. But at the end of the day, there is a process, detailed process for that. For now, my view is that there should be calm. If you recall, a committee has been set up to find out why we lost the election and then make recommendations to it. I am of the view that it is proper that we wait for the outcome of such a report. After that, all consequential decisions can be made.
Let's quickly do the Goso story, and then I'll just give you headlines from my paper.
Yeah, Goso story. I want to even know. Valentine's Day banned in Goso Traditional Council. Here's why. So I read the Goso Traditional Council has placed a ban on Valentine's Day celebration in the Goso Traditional area. This comes ahead of the 1-week observation of the late Paramount Chief, Nana Kwesi Bosompra. The announcement was made at a press conference where elders of the council dressed in black attire declared that any public display of Valentine's Day celebration will not be tolerated. According to the Nanum, the decision to ban the celebration is in line with the traditional customs and practices, which requires solemnity and respect in the period leading up to the 1-week funeral rites of the late chief. While the council has not outlawed Valentine's Day entirely, it has warned that any open display of celebrations will incur the wrath of the traditional leaders. The directive means that decorations, public parties, and any visible display of Valentine-themed activities will not be allowed in the Goso traditional area on February 14th.
All right, so if you vow, you will be vowed.
Why will you February? I'm sure the traditional council also want to.
In some way,
yeah, they want to protect.
We have to go.
Yes.
Just headlines from the Ghanaian Times. New Hajj fare pegged at 62,000 Ghana cedis, down from 75,000 Ghana cedis in 2024. That's about 13,000 Ghana cedis less. Promises made. Will it go any further? President Mahama promises to complete Takrady Market Circle project, give indigents quota of employment at Jamestown Harbour. That's according to the Ga Manche. There's also 2 more arrested in Asante Kotoko's fan murder, and you know Asante Kotoko has threatened to withdraw from the league, keeping the junior side but taking the senior side out. And on pages 6 and 7, while page 7 says ministers leading the resetting agenda, page 6 says reset your mind for the best, and you can check out that editorial there. That's it for me, and I think it's a wrap right here. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you.
Those who joined us this morning, Kwesi Kwarteng is former PRO at the Education Ministry. We also have Benjamin Kwashi. He is head of the Council of Elders for the NDC in South Africa. Both of them joined us this morning for a conversation.
Is it South Africa?
Yes.
You are looking for appointments, eh?
Yes,
Please stay. Sports comes up next on the air.
No, they should sort him out. It's fine.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftaro Nabila Abdullahi. The Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Football Association had a meeting on Wednesday to discuss strategies on how to provide security at match centers. In this meeting, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Akufu Dampare, revealed that 2 more suspects have been arrested, taking the number of people who are alleged to be involved in the chaos that led to the demise of Kumasi Asante Kotoko supporter Francis Frimpong, affectionately called Nanapoli.
We have arrested 2 more persons, bringing the total number of people who have been arrested to 5. And we are currently pursuing a few others, including a female that we are working on, who has been in hiding. But the question is, for how long can you run? And for how long, or how far can you run? And for how long can you hide after allegedly contributing to the situation that we face today? So we want to use this to assure the family of Yao, to assure the family, the Asante Kotoko Football Club family, the GFA, and the football fraternity of the country, that we will stop at nothing in getting the people involved arrested to face justice. We urge the public and the entirety of the football fraternity in particular to support us in this endeavor, and people to see the situation as a crime which is being investigated and nothing else, so that the families and the club and the football fraternity and the country will have closure when it comes to this matter. for us also using this proactively to learn the relevant lessons and come out with a blueprint better than what we have currently in place to ensure that football continue to be a game that need to be enjoyed and not a game that people end up losing their lives. Because why should you be going to a place that you expect to enjoy yourself and then ending up losing your life? This must not happen again. And we, the people here in this room, have that responsibility to ensure that it doesn't happen. Let us rise up to that responsibility in service of the good people of this country and in service of humanity.
Meanwhile, in short, Roman, they have written to the Ghana Football Association to withdraw from the Ghana Premier League. Executive Council member of the football governing body, Fred Echampon, says that their decision to withdraw from the competition comes with some consequences.
Yes, we discussed that the night of the incident. We went into discussions. When I say the Executive Council went into discussions, and the first thought was to look out for the family of the deceased. So we embarked on that. The second thing we discussed was to put the league on hold for us to go through all these processes. Then after that, we can then schedule a date that we can resume the league. And so the FA was the first to, call off the weekend matches. Yes, subsequent to that, Instruct just confirmed to me that they sent a letter to the Football Association indicating their decision to withdraw from the league. I'm not sure if they still stand by that, but that's been it. And Asante Kotoko also issued a statement. All what they were saying is that they wanted to see justice, and with what has been happening. Yesterday, the IGP himself was in Kumasi, met with the leadership of Asante Kotoko. Today, they are here. All of us have been in meetings, so I'm pretty sure that we've made some headways. No, the regulations are there. If it happens that way, we consult the regulations. If someone enters into a competition and midway through the competition withdraws from the competition, there are consequences. Do not forget that as Instructorman, they have contract with players, you understand, and they have engagement, and they've shown commitment that they're going to play the league till the end. So there are consequences, and that will be dealt with by the Premier League regulations. Beyond that, I'm sure that it's not a good thing, in my opinion. What is it that an incident happened? I'm sure they need to cooperate with all the agencies, the Football Association, the police, and everybody involved to try and get to the bottom of the matter instead of them withdrawing from the league. That would not be the solution. I don't think so.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Football Association will later today at its secretariat host Ghana Premier League clubs in a meeting that is seeking to provide solution to the current issues that have bedeviled Ghana football. Many would recall that on Sunday, when Kumasi Asante Kotoko came up against Instruct, a football fan who has been identified as Francis Yao Frimpong, another fan of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, lost his life in that game following some violence that ensued inside the stadium. Well, the Ghana Football Association, in a statement, invited clubs to come to its secretariat later today at 11 a.m. to discuss ways to provide solutions to the problem. The GFA believes that the clubs are at the heart of the issues and that anyone who is better placed to provide solution to this current challenge is the clubs themselves. Hence, their decision to invite them. And also on Friday, there will be a meeting with supporters. And the meeting with the supporters would also be centered on discussions involving how they behave at match centers. The Ghana Football Association meeting will be chaired by its president, Kate Okreku, who has had a couple of meetings already, including the one with the IGP. And it was the IGP that extended that invite to the Ghana Football Association for a meeting to provide strategies on how to curtail some of these issues that often happen at match centers. And now, tomorrow, we are bringing you one of the biggest stories that happened late last year. It's about Abigail Korte. This is a young lady who has redefined what it means to be a female boxer by becoming the first Ghanaian woman to win a world champion. My colleague, Haruna Mubarak, has been working on this documentary and will bring you excerpts of that.
Across from her stood Sangeeta Bedi, a formidable British opponent. Abigail unleashed a barrage of punches and precise uppercuts, leaving Sangeeta battered and bruised. When the final bell rang, the decision was unanimous. Abigail C'tee had triumphed.
No, that many fighter, but no. You mean why? Oh, if it more pressure, ben. Because me that my title lead. No one doing look much.
Were you scared?
No.
Why?
Because I want to beat her.
Was the fight easy?
It's not easy. Right. My mind say I want to beat her.
Leg momo if you hungry. Omo yelo omo. No. Omo ni yelo omo we. Ni na no ku ne ken le be sani enye eyi because leg momo le nche na me yifa omo we wo. Ya fight ba noto. No da ne le yi omo akeshira ne no. No ne nu na ka akekle ye nchomi po omo we. No po yi le se ka akeshin. Sane fi gidi omo ne yi. Because ko ba watch me you akeshin emusun we. Shi akeshini enna no ne tawo mu no ne tawo no ha ne mi enchomi ne yele fin o gidi.
Efe mi na pe ntabi en wo nteshi. Ile noko insista ko we ni obi e bi you sa de cho bi nu e. Eke isakoto kwateke ano she wi ni she ale tete she yi blood for you. Go. Mi je kwa nukwa teka ya no nye ke wo nuko we bi e wole nuko anu ni wosumo no efi o wo nda ni washin won ne nko pe anu kwale enwo na no na yo mu e ba ni ka obi enyi no wota sha ga kwa teka so we ano she ano ya re na we bi e wo nuko she aka ji mo gugo hola obi enyi ga emi na yu o kwa teka le wa le no e ba ye yi mo.
I think Abigail is dominating and she has dominated
from round 1 to the 10th round, and she's doing really well. It's the first time we've seen a Ghanaian female boxer.
These are institutionalized
Now, let's take you to Sakumono. You would recall that yesterday we brought you a report about how the Celebrity Golf Course has been invaded by estate developers. My colleague, in the person of Joseph Ayinga Walter, visited the place and has details in this report.
The Celebrity Golf Course at Sakumono, near Tema, is facing encroachment as developers clear portions of the land for construction. Despite a court injunction prohibiting any development, work is ongoing in parts of the golf course. During a visit to the site with our cameras, Joy Sports encountered contractors actively working on the land, accompanied by land guards. Eric Duka, a retired member of the golf club, raised concerns and calls on the Ministry of Interior and the Greater Accra Regional Security Council and the Ministry of Sports and Recreation to intervene.
In golf, if you take the course away, then you don't even have golf at all. We play on the course. We play on the land that we call the golf course. So when people come in and they encroach on our land, they are taking something away from us.
Developers have begun clearing trees along the northern edge of the course, erecting walls and blocking access to the dam that supplies water to the facility. This area was allocated for the development of a practice range, and the encroachment is also affecting the bunker at the end of the hole 1 and the entirety of the hole 2. Former Ghana ambassador to Japan, Dr. William Brandford, also a member of the Celebrity Golf Club, expressed concern over the situation.
But for us golfers, what we kind of regret is to have a situation where you have come to use the facility as a golfer to play and enjoy and have exercise and go home. And then at some point along the course, you come across people who say this part of the course is supposed to be for us. So you're not sure how safe it is for you to utilize the facility as...
In 1987, the Tema Development Corporation leased the land to the Biltando family for development purposes and also recreational facility, which would serve as a sanctuary for golfers here in Sakumono. However, the situation here is that encroachers have occupied the area which was designated for kids. This same vast area serves as a training purpose for the Ghana Armed Forces, for their landing purposes and then their evacuation. The Celebrity Golf Club was eventually established, serving as both a recreational hub and a source of employment for the local community.
What is going on?
That Tuesday, there would be no vetting. That Wednesday, there will be no vetting on Wednesday. Life is all about give and take. As a result, we are not able to vet any nominee on Wednesday, and then we use the Wednesday to deal with the issues pertaining to Mr. Oliver Baka Vamawa. Though we closed early because of the decision that there was not going to be vetting, we then used the period to task the clerk with the responsibility to merge that Wednesday with Thursday. The nominees that are to be vetted on Wednesday that we couldn't do, she should merge it with Friday. And then let's look at the number. Now the number became 8. And at a meeting, we've decided that if on average we have to use 2 hours on one person, then that would have been 16 hours of sitting. It would have been too much, given the fact that some people may be vetted within 1 hour. We agreed to do the first 6. First, it was the first 5. Then I received a call from Honorable Minority Leader that he is okay, we can add a candle to be taken on that day. Therefore, 6 people were programmed to be taken. Then there was an agreement that the backlog, being the 2, should be added to the following day, which is Friday. And if we are not able to exhaust, then we can take a decision whether we are coming on Saturday or it should be Monday or Tuesday. In fact, this has also brought in Honorable Mahama Ayariga, the leader of the House. And he even came out to say that clearly we need to negotiate the Saturday because Saturday is not a working day. So therefore, if you are not able to finish on Friday and we cannot come on Saturday, then probably Monday or Tuesday will be the next available date. So I was surprised that in the morning of that Thursday, the clerk came to me to say that instead of what we have agreed upon, she has received a text message from the minority whip in the person of Anodomfre, which text message she showed to me that we are only going to do 4. That is why I have a difficulty. You agree on one thing, then behind you want to do another thing. I wasn't comfortable. So I just told the clerk that whatever we agreed upon, that is what we are going to do. So on that Thursday, We had programmed to start the first person at 9 o'clock. I came to office around 8:30. About 8:45, I received a call from the assistant clerk to the effect that he had received a call from Honorable Anodompre that there will be a caucus meeting of the minority. Therefore, instead of 9 o'clock, we should again start proceedings at 10 o'clock. For me, as a member of parliament, you may not have control over a caucus meeting. So when they are going to have a caucus meeting, I have no problem about it. So I have decided to walk to the chamber. Then on my way to the chamber, I met few MPs from the minority side and asked, I understand you are having a caucus meeting. Are you not attending the caucus meeting? Only for me to be told that there was no caucus meeting. So 10 o'clock, I have decided to start the vetting. And when they walk in after I have started, I told them in a plain language that I do not like the seat. We are all members of parliament. If you have a challenge of a caucus meeting, I would agree with you. But a situation where you do not have a caucus, but you deceive me in order to delay the proceedings of that day, to say that you have a caucus meeting, I won't take it kindly. And that is not the way we should be going. The response was that if they mean caucus meeting, it doesn't mean the entire minority caucus. As if I do not know the meaning placed on the caucus in our own standing orders. I took it in a good faith, and we were proceeding. I was surprised after vetting the Minister for Transport. Based on the agreement, I asked the Minister designate for Health to take his seat. It was there that I realized that we are tired, we will not do Honorable Akando. Akando will not be vetted today in a very rowdy manner. Based on my posture, I was engaging the minority leader to the effect that you said you are comfortable for Akando to be taken today. What has changed? What really has changed? Mostly the response will be that it is not me, I am under pressure. It's not me, I am under pressure. I'm also a politician, I understand. So I was making an attempt to persuade them that in view of the fact that Honorable Akando had to bring the chiefs and opinion leaders from Juaboso, and he being the last person, there are instances where vetting of the committee will end at 10, 10:30, 11. And this is just getting to about 8 o'clock. So we could accommodate and take Honorable Akando for that day, so that the rest of the two will be shifted to the following day. And if we are not able to finish the following day, then we could consequently adjust ourselves and finish the following week. Then what I realized was that whilst that negotiation was ongoing, I heard the minority leader requesting that they should call some people into the vetting room. And in no time, they started walking to the vetting room. And that very day, minority leader was so harsh to the deputy, second deputy whip, Jerry Ahmed Shaib. I intend not to repeat the words inflicted on him that very day. So I realized that they were under some kind of instruction from their leader to do certain things. Honorable members of the committee, let me place on record that there are some instances where my ranking member will ask their side that they should all stand up and put on the microphone. And by putting on the microphone, all other microphones will be disabled. And you cannot do anything when all the microphones were on. So to some extent, I do not really understand what they want. Because, honorable members, by my level of tolerance and the way and the manner I have accommodated them, sometimes I do not expect it to be treated in a particular way.
It is not the committee that has decided to stop, but the clerk to Parliament of Ghana has requested that until you get further instruction from the Speaker, the committee should suspend its sitting. On that note, we want to discharge you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I want to inform all the media house here that we'll get back to you. We're waiting for instruction from the Speaker, who has formed this committee, and then by tomorrow, we'll let you know the next step. Thank you.
I have watched the video you have shared, and it is a true reflection of the one who took the video from the position that he stood or she stood. On that fateful Thursday, from the video you shared, we had commenced proceedings, and the proceedings were disrupted, and the members went into a conclave in the Director of Protocol's office, and they agreed on how to proceed. But before
Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories, and that special committee started meeting yesterday, but guess what? Some chaos, well, not chaos, but that meeting had to be suspended because of a directive purportedly from the Speaker of Parliament. We're getting into that issue now with the chairman of that committee, Emmanuel Bedzrah. He joins the conversation. Mr. Bedzrah, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ben. And how are you?
I am very well. I hope you are too.
I am good, and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners.
It's a great pleasure having you join the conversation. Yesterday, I listened to a good chunk of what you said, and abruptly, you had to suspend settings, which I found surprising. But tell me, based on what did this committee even start sitting? Just walk us through.
Okay, well, as you are aware, we had some disturbances during the public hearing of vetting of ministers. And during that vetting, some of our colleagues unrudely broke some tables, destroyed some chairs, destroyed some properties of the state or of Parliament. And so the Speaker, having listened to many people from outside Parliament and also watched the video, decided to suspend some members of Parliament who were directly involved in that disturbance, and also establish this committee, an ad hoc committee, because Parliament itself has not yet completed the committees that we're supposed to have. The Privileged Committee has not yet been established, other committees have not yet been established. And so, clone with the powers of the Constitution as well as the standing orders, the Speaker decided to have this special committee that will investigate and look into what happens there. And then recommend to the House whether sanctions should be applied and identify people who were directly involved. And so that was a mandate for this committee. That's what has happened. And so that was on Friday, and the Speaker gave us 10 days to complete our work. And so on Monday, we met as a committee. Some of my colleagues could not attend, so we had virtual meeting with those who could not attend. Members of the committee, as you know, are myself, the chairperson, Enyimedu, Entry, Abena Asare, Zaneto Jimaroli, Vincent Opon, Bedzrah, and Giselle Agoti Tete. This 7-member committee these are the members of the 7-member committee. So we met, and those who could not, come physically to Parliament House joined us Zoom. It was only Abena who could not join, and so we set up modalities as to how we were going to operate. And the arrangement was that we'll view all the videos because all the 7 of us were not there to witness what happened. And so we cannot be witnesses. We can only, have an information from either from the video or from, witnesses, people who were there who have watched what happened.
Right.
And so we set up to watch all the videos. And so on Monday we agreed and we publicized it. I had a press conference and requested for videos, audios, text messages, anything that anybody has, and give out the number. So in fact, data is there. As soon as I release the number, we start receiving. We received close to 100 videos, 100, messages, multimedia messages. And then we decided to look at it. So Tuesday, we invited an expert, a forensic expert, who also worked with us. And he decided which ones were doctored and which ones were authentic. He authenticated the ones that we were supposed to work on. And so we set out that Wednesday, which was yesterday, we identify witnesses and we identify culprits. So our program was to meet with the witnesses that we identify from the videos. And then today, we'll be meeting those that we have identified as directly involved in the disturbances and those who even broke, those who raised the tables and chairs, those who removed cables from the microphone and so on and so forth.
Right.
We have identified the 2 sets of people. So yesterday was for us to play the video for the witnesses who saw it and give their own personal account of what has happened. That was what we were doing yesterday.
Right.
And then as we were doing it, the clerk came in and asked that whether I have any further directive from the speaker. I said, no, I've not received any further directive from the speaker, except that on Tuesday, speaker, suspended his suspension on those that he has suspended and asked that the committee should continue with its work. And that when the committee finishes, the committee should present a report. So that was the only directive I've received so far from the speaker. I've not received any personal directive. Then he went and came back and he said he thinks that we should stop. I said, I am not going to stop today. I'm not going to stop tomorrow until I receive directive from the speaker. And so he kept going and coming back. Then my co-chair, a vice chair, normally when you have a committee of this nature, you need to have, so we all agree that Honorable Kwame Enyimadu should be my vice chair. So he became the vice chair. And he prompted me that he has received a text message that his leader was calling him. And I said, well, we have one of honorable members from the minority side who will be coming to testify. He's on his way. So if you wait till that honorable comes, when he finishes testifying, we interrogate him as a witness of what he has seen, then he can go and come back. We were waiting, then a text message came again that the honorable member who was coming to witness, who was coming to give testimony, said he will not come because he has directives from their leader, minority leader, Honorable Apenyo Markins, not to come. Then my colleague, the vice chair, Honorable Enyimadu, decided that, okay, he will go and find out from his leader what was happening because already he has intimated that he should not come. But he said he will come because he believes that this is the Speaker's committee and he must not disappoint Speaker, not because he's not doing it because of partisanship, but the truth must be told. Ghanaians must know what really happened. And so he left, and then we continue. Then when the clerk to the committee started giving testimony, the clerk to Parliament, Mr. Ahmad came and said he is under obligation. And I said, which obligations? We have to stop going on air because he needs the camera to go to the plenary. And I said, okay, if you need Parliament's camera can go. But as for public hearing, these people from the various media houses are already here, so we'll continue. I said, no, he doesn't want that too. I said, no way. Until I receive any message from Speaker, I am not stopping. So I continued. Then it came the fourth time when the lady was in the middle, the clerk to the committee of appointment committee, was in the middle of her narration. Then it came again that he is a clerk and he's instructed. I said, I don't take instruction from you. Call Speaker to call me and then I'll stop. He couldn't do it. The next thing I heard was that he was instructing the clerk, the committee clerk, that's the clerk to my committee, that he's asking them to stop what they are doing. He's instructing them as a head that they should not do the work again. That was where I asked that we should suspend until I receive information from the Speaker.
Honorable Bedzrah, let me
that the Speaker gave instructions. No, Speaker did not give any instruction. The instruction came from Mr. Ahomajito Ebenezer, and not the Speaker of Parliament.
And he is the clerk to Parliament.
Sorry?
He is the clerk to Parliament.
He's the clerk to Parliament.
Right.
And so I left there with my committee members and I called the majority leader, Honorable Ayariga, and they said they were in conclave, so I should come. So I went with my members to meet with the minority leader, the two deputy speakers, the clerk himself, and my committee members to find out what really was happening. Why would they stop us abruptly in the middle of public hearing? I do not understand. And then they should tell me why this should happen. I was really furious. And they said I should calm down. They spoke to us and said when they met the Speaker, before Speaker came to give his direction, they suggested to Speaker that we should hold on to the committee's work because they are prepared to pay for it. Then I said, no. If Speaker wanted to stop, he would have said it in his statement to members and to the whole public that he did not want the committee work to continue. And so he will charge those who were involved to pay. In any case, it is not only the 4 people he suspended that were involved. There were more than 4 people. In fact, we've identified about 10 people who were directly involved. But because we have not finished the work, I cannot give out their names. So quickly, I dialed Speaker. They claimed that they were calling Speaker, did not get Speaker. So I dialed Speaker. Speaker had traveled out of the jurisdiction actually heard from Parliament yesterday. And I called Speaker and I put him on loudspeaker. I said, Speaker, you are on loudspeaker. I'm here with all these people, the majority leader, minority leader, the clerk, the 2 deputy speakers. And that the instruction from you was that we should stop. Speaker said he did not instruct anybody. And he gave the narration as when the minority leader met him in the office and requested that we should stop. And he said no. So there was no conclusion to this matter. Now, if I like, and he was loud on phone, if we like, we should go and look at the hazard. Then minority leader says, okay, if that's it, then we should go and look on the hazard. We should stop, look at the hazard first before we continue. I said, okay, I've suspended sitting. Now I am going to wait till the Speaker returns. And so Speaker said, well, we should continue. He said it that, well, we should continue. Then he handled.
So the Speaker said that you should continue with the committee sittings?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so in the evening, Speaker himself told me based on whatever it was, and instructed me that I should continue today. And I said, no, Speaker, I'm not going to continue until the clerk give me express instruction that you have instructed him that he has asked the committee to continue its work. Now, 10 p.m., the clerk called me and said, Speaker has instructed him to ask me to continue the public hearing. So I am yet to meet my members of the committee today, and then we'll continue our public hearing.
Mr. Bedzrah, let me just get this clarity before.
To appear. Those who will not appear, we'll identify them. We'll play the video for the whole world to see who really the culprits were and what really MPs that were supposed to protect public property did to our institutional material.
Just a quick thought for me. Are you suggesting that you mentioned that the clerk seemed to have suggested that Afenyo Markin, the minority leader, had some interaction with him, but later you talk about Mahama Yariga, the majority leader, also being there. Are you suggesting that the majority leader was in the know of this when you went into that conclave meeting? Or that conclave?
When we went to the conclave meeting, I asked both of them. And Honorable Mahama Yariga said he did not hear Speaker speaking in his statement that we should suspend or stop. He did not hear. In fact, he was emphatic that his mind was not there. And he remembered that when they were with Speaker, the two of them were with Speaker to plead with the Speaker. Honorable Afenimaki added, but then he walked out, so he did not know what happened between, the conclusion between him and the Speaker. So that was Honorable Mahama Yariga, majority leaders, part of the story. And so he was saying, in his concluding statement, since we are not sure of what transpired between Honorable Minority Leader and the Speaker, we should wait for the Speaker to return tomorrow. Then I said, well, if that's the case, we will all wait. When the Speaker returns, he'll give a direct instruction. Then in the night, Speaker called and said, no, we cannot stop this way, we should continue. And he has given direct instruction, express instruction to the class that we should continue.
So as we speak, are you going to continue? Because what I'm hearing is you want to wait till the Speaker returns. And I understand the Speaker is not even in the country. And so you were misinformed or disinformed. And if you've gotten that clarity now from the Speaker, what are you waiting for?
Well, I need to meet with my committee members this morning. As you all know, we agreed to have a meeting this morning. In fact, yesterday we agreed that we'll meet at 2 o'clock. By then, I would have received some information from the Speaker. So today there will not be any public hearing. We will continue tomorrow. Speaker is not in town. There is instruction from the clerk that we should continue, and so this public hearing will continue on Friday.
Are you saying that now you have that clarity from the clerk, Mr. Jijo Ebenezer, that you should continue? Because you mentioned while narrating that you were waiting for the explicit instruction from him that you should continue. Have you got that now?
Yes, he called yesterday, and he has confirmed that.
Okay, so you're meeting with your committee members today. What time?
We'll be meeting, we advertised that we should meet at 2 p.m. because by then, before we left Parliament yesterday, we've not received any information from either the clerk or the Speaker. It was late in the night when the Speaker called me and also gave that instruction to Honorable Mr. Ebenezer Jitro. So this message is, even my committee members are not aware. And so I'll relay to them today at the meeting, and then we'll continue the way. Because we're all scandalized. We do not believe that members of Parliament who are supposed to investigate what happened publicly will just be interrupted. I mean, rudely interrupted, in that bizarre manner yesterday was uncalled for. And I don't think it is fair to Ghanaian public.
I'm sure you have some theories, right? Because you were surprised. What do you think was the intention behind disrupting your procedure yesterday? What do you think?
Well, I cannot say for a fact what really was the intention. But you see, we are in politicking. Somebody does not want to be exposed as to what really happened. But my sister, it is not exposing anybody. We even stated it in our press conference that we are not witch hunting anybody. Truth must be told. We are honorable members. That's why we have the title honorable members. And if you remember, the Speaker said he did not call us that Friday as honorable members because what we did was uncalled for and unseemly. And so he did not call us honorable members until leaders came to apologize to him personally. That's why he restored the title honorable members. Now, that does not repudiate the fact that people were involved. Are you saying that we should just pay and then those who were directly involved should not be either named and shamed? For people to be remorseful and stop this attitude of because I'm an MP, I have all the immunity that can do anything on this planet Earth. I don't think this is right.
Right.
And so my theory actually was the fact that MPs can go to any strength, any length. My colleagues can just do anything and think that we can go away with impunity because we are honorable members. It is not right. We are Ghanaians. We have the same blood. We are only privileged to serve people. And as that privilege is taken away, we are just like any other civil person or any other Ghanaian. And so we should not think that we are higher than anybody. We are not above the law. And I'm have instructed the class to inform the police to investigate criminal activity. And I'm happy the police to do that well. So what again, it is just 10 people who are involved, and then the rest will be taken care of by
Mr. Bedzrah, just move a little. We're losing you slightly. Let's try this. Just clarify for me, because in one breath I hear you saying you're going to wait for the speaker. In another breath, I hear you saying there's been a specific directive from the speaker to the clerk, and so you're going to continue. Is it the public sitting you're continuing today, post your meeting with the committee, or what exactly is happening? Just briefly on that.
So, what we agreed, what I've just stated was that I'll be meeting with my committee members. The speaker has instructed that we should continue with our work. And so what we agreed with as committee was that we'll have a public hearing. That was yesterday for Ghanaians to watch the video, because not everybody who watched the video, to identify people who were there with us. And those people who were there are just witnesses, so we watch that video with them. Then today, we're supposed to bring in those people who we identify as culprits, or those who were directly involved. The witness was supposed to be yesterday. We ran 20 people. We did only have 8. So we have more. And so to continue with our public hearing, if my colleagues agree that we continue, I'm the chair, but I have to, it's a democratic institution. My other colleagues must also agree that we continue the public hearing, and that's for tomorrow. Now, it also depends on getting the witnesses, because the witnesses were to come yesterday. From them. That is what I'm saying, that we may not have it today, but we might have it tomorrow if the witnesses agree to come. And if they come, we'll finish the public hearing, which have largely to do with the witnesses for people to appreciate how really happened. We will also report in-camera hearing.
Did you say in-camera hearing?
In-camera, that's what we agree as a committee.
Okay, so are you saying that moving forward, the public hearings are going to be commuted for in-camera hearings? Because some people have also asked, must this be done publicly?
Yes, so that's why I said, when I was outlining our plan and the program, I stated that we will have public hearing for witnesses. If you have my press conference statement, I said we will have public hearing for witnesses. Then we will move to in-camera hearing, because there are certain things that we think that we need to interrogate whoever is involved, and that will take a longer period.
So the in-camera hearings, are they specifically for only MPs?
We are yet to decide. My colleagues and I will decide, and then we'll let you know.
Now, you also made mention of the fact that you felt the reaction of the clerk, it was as though somebody didn't want to be exposed. Who is somebody?
Well, we'll leave it like that for now. We'll get to know.
I see.
Does this affect your timelines, though? I'm just curious to know. Because you were given some timelines by the speaker to produce a report.
We're given 10 days.
Yes.
We're supposed to conclude this by Sunday. But from look of things now, we have to request speaker to give us 2 or 3 more days to conclude.
Okay.
There was also this unsavory bit about one of the members of your committee, Senator Rawlings, and a comment that was passed as well. What's the latest on that?
I didn't hear that. Comment about what?
Senator Rawlings and someone's father being something previously. I don't know what your reaction is.
It wasn't at a committee level.
Pardon me?
It wasn't at a committee.
No, I'm saying that has also happened. Is that something that the committee is also looking into?
No, I'm not aware. In fact, I've not even heard a comment myself. I only heard people saying that somebody has made a comment. I've not seen it, I've not heard it. If I've heard it, I'd ask that the person should be brought to book, or the speaker should take notice of that person. I've not heard it at all.
I bring it up because it was suggested that a member of parliament had done it, though it has been proven that he did not do it. So I just wanted to find out whether that was an area you would wade
Even
into.
my colleague from the minority has circulated videos about me. The honorable majority leader, minority leader, even sent that video to me that I said I was going to slap MPs when they were about to take my seat. I mean, so this is, we do it to each other. But you see, this is a serious committee. We should not be joking with comments that I made in December when I said, when you come and take my seat, I will slap you, I will do this, don't come and take my seat, That has nothing to do with what we are doing. And so they will say all kinds of things just to, as usual, to make you angry and not do your work. But that will not deter us at all. We'll do what we are supposed to do.
Okay. Well, so I guess now your work continues, and only time will tell between today and tomorrow what exactly will be done.
Exactly.
We wish you the very best.
I will make a press. We'll have a press conference today after our meeting.
All right. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Bedzrah, for joining the conversation. He, of course, is chairman of that committee set up by the Speaker to investigate some of these happenings on January the 30th. Let's bring in our other guests.
Yes, let's speak to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. He's a fellow of the Center for Democratic Development. And we also have Sameh Obeng. He's executive director of Parliamentary Network Africa. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning to you as well.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Great. Doc, I want to start with you. I know that for people in your area of expertise, watchers, observers of the democracy, these conversations are interesting. You know, when we are all locked in on a topic on how to rule or what the excesses of power really are. But at this point, I have to ask, are we really taking this seriously? If you look at the narration from Mr. Bedzrah about how someone said the Speaker had asked them to stop, meanwhile, the Speaker hadn't actually said anything. And this is a very important committee that was set up to investigate that chaos at the vetting, the appointment committee. Are we taking this seriously? What do you make of it?
It came off as odd for that conflicting information, right? Where the Speaker says, no, continue your work, but the clerk is saying, I've been directed or I'm here to inform you to discontinue your work. As you rightly mentioned, it takes away, for me, the seriousness of the matter at hand and the committee's work to try and get to the bottom of it. It also comes across as though is it that they don't want answers, they don't want to probe this issue anymore and try and figure out how best do we ensure that this doesn't happen anymore. Now, as he said, the committee would resume its work tomorrow and continue its hearings and continue to investigate this matter. I think it's very important that ultimately something is done about this. And if that means this public hearing and all of these investigations to issue some kind of a report, you also hope that when the committee's work is done, it would not become one of those routine things where a committee does work, issues a report, and end of story. That whatever the committee finds and recommends, that action would be taken to ensure that it serves as a deterrent to anyone who would want to repeat this unfortunate behavior in the future.
Okay, let me go to Sameh Obeng briefly before Ben comes in. And Mr. Obeng, how did the news of that suspension of the public hearing come to you? And listening to the narration from Mr. Bedzrah as well, what is your initial reaction to what we are seeing right now?
We need to commend the honorable member for Whole Western, chairman of the committee, Mr. Bedzrah, for coming out and since last night speaking specifically to the issues and what has happened. For me, it assures me of a committee and its leadership who are really invested in this exercise and are willing to go the full haul on it. I am not surprised at all when some of these things happen in Parliament and people try to play the chess. I mean, it's a house of cards, people would exhibit their cards and showcase their cards and hide their cards and all of that. So these things, for those of us who are direct parliamentary watchers, do happen. However, when we know that even in the midst of all of those cards, there is commitment to still get the work done, it's for me the bigger assurance. And I must say that, just like the 16 civil society organizations that issued the statement in support of the very actions that the Speaker had outlined, we had indicated that we will be observing these things every step of the way. And usually when you see these things happen in Parliament, when people are trying to play all manner of antics to thwart some effort, it is only intended to serve as a way to muddy the waters and not allow the process to go on. And then if we become forgetful as the people of Ghana, the whole issue dies off. But we want to assure Parliament and members of Parliament that we will not forget this. We will be on it. On the 10th day, we will remind Parliament that is day 10. On the 11th day, we'll remind them it's day 11. And if it takes 300 days, we'll keep reminding them and taking the necessary actions to ensure that every single member of Parliament who was culpable in those acts are brought to book according to the rules, the codes, and the ethics that are expected of members of Parliament. Because one too many of such instances have happened in the past, have gone unaddressed, and because of that, it has emboldened new members of Parliament to get involved in this process. And if we don't deal with it once and for all, it will become an institution that loses its reputation. And none of us wants that for the Parliament of Ghana.
Right. Ben.
Now, on the back of what has been said, how surprising is it for you, this back and forth in respect of the Speaker says this, now the clerk says that, and purportedly the minority leader in there, and then the Hansard and everything? That in itself points to, pardon me, some systemic challenges within Parliament. What is your reading?
Then I don't think it's systemic challenges at all. I think, I've worked in this system for a while. I think it is simply an issue of, there could be a lot of dishonesty within those enclaves. And
you're talking of people, honorable members of Parliament, and you are using dishonesty for them.
There could be a lot of dishonesty in that enclave. Sometimes, and that's one of the things that worries me a lot. Sometimes when people are talking and they are spewing bare-faced lies, they are minded to even sometimes say, oh, but we are doing politics, as though politics is about telling lies and about, we are doing politics. Sometimes it worries me a lot when people equate politics to, so these things are not very, and anybody who is invested in the processes in Parliament knows that, you don't take one parliamentarian or one side's word for it until you've heard both sides, until you've heard the other side, and until you've heard the neutrals and all of that and piece things together. So it's not surprising at all to how these things happen. However, the good thing is that the essence of an open Parliament, where all of us are watching Parliament live, is that you and I need not wait for Hansard to hear what exactly Mr. Speaker said on that day and the instructions he gave. I was not in town on the day Mr. Speaker lifted the ban, but last night, I watched the parliamentary proceedings on Parliament's official Facebook page, and I heard specifically what Mr. Speaker said. I could do my own transcript of it. He was very clear in his mind that, yes, the 4 members who had been suspended, the suspension had been lifted. However, every other process, including the committee's work, including making sure that members of Parliament who are culpable pay for whatever damages have been made, including Mr. Clark, reporting the situation to the police investigating, and all of those other processes are intact. And so for us, we'll be monitoring every one of those to make sure that, every step of the way, they are able to comply with those things. Of course, the Speaker's prerogative to suspend the 4 and then also recall that suspension. But of course, that does not take away the fact that a committee, an ad hoc committee of Parliament, has the power to be able to go into this matter in the absence of a Privileges and Immunities Committee of Parliament and to make recommendations for the entire plenary to take a decision on it. So I am not surprised, of course, that who is saying what, majority saying what, minority saying what, clerk saying what. I'm happy, and that's why I commended Mr. Bedzrah for coming out to give the narration, even including what were said privately. In the end, we all heard what Mr. Speaker said. In the end, the videos are out there. in the end, we expect that the committee will finish its work in 10 days, unless perhaps the one who gave the instructions come to say, I have given some level of extension. Nothing beyond that will be acceptable by the people of Ghana. And Parliament must know that.
Dr. Osai-Kwapong, just briefly in there. We heard Bernard Ahiafo, the chairman of the vetting committee or the appointments committee, actually suggest yesterday that there was some dishonesty, because then he spoke about what had been discussed with the minority and then later what would turn out when they were on the floor of vetting. Then you have first-timers who were also in there perpetrating certain acts for which now they are before this other committee. On the back of what I just brought to bear with Sami Obeng, do you still feel things should proceed? It is important for things to proceed so that we unearth everything that happened, though people are not going to be punished. Do you also subscribe to it?
I mean, yes, it should proceed, but I also hope that it would not be a hearing simply for the sake of a hearing. I mean, if there would be no punishment at the end of the day, or if no persons involved in this chaos will be held accountable, whatever that accountability would look like, then with all due respect, I ask myself, what would then be the purpose of this?
Probably they would apologize to Ghanaians whom they have caused this ignominy with foreign outlets picking all these stories. Ghanaians feel the shame of their actions.
But you don't need a hearing for that to happen, right? I think someone has even, was it the majority leader at the end of the chaos that day, who talked about, this is unacceptable.
Yeah,
Parliament must do better, etc., etc. So for me, if really at the end of the day, an apology, though important, is all that is going to come from days of hearing and investigating this matter, then for me, I don't think that is quote unquote worth the time, right? This must be, the end of this must be more than just, we are sorry, Ghanaians. There has to be some real, accountability and some real punishment for the perpetrators of this chaos. Now, as to whether the institution of Parliament will be able to do that to its own members, only time will tell, right? Because even for the initial suspensions, those have been withdrawn. And so you say to yourself, would any other punishment, hold up? And time will tell.
Doc.
Ben, if I may, just and maybe from where Doc left off, let me just add that technically, these individuals or this committee's work is an ad hoc committee in the stead of the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges and Immunities, right? Because that committee has not been set up yet by Parliament. And so Parliament has, in the absence of a specific committee, set up an ad hoc committee to do a specific responsibility. And there are clear indications on what kinds of sanctions, beyond just an apology. And that's why, like we said, we need to be monitoring even the quality of the work and the outcomes and the recommendations that the committee makes to plenary, to interrogate these matters and to hold the feet of our elected representatives to the fire to know that it cannot be business as usual. That, okay, it happens because we have come to apologize, then, we leave it at that. Then, of course, taxpayers' money is being used to pay for the destructions that have been caused and what have you. It is important to note that this committee's work, in my opinion, and by my reading of the standing orders, is elevated to the level of making recommendations that could trigger the sanctions that are within the standing orders of Parliament around breach of parliamentary privileges by members of Parliament themselves.
Doc, and maybe both of you can get a bite at this question. You both said that the cardinal value of this committee's work goes beyond giving Ghanaians an apology. But But do you think that it's sort of reflects or reveals broader tensions between majority and minority in Parliament? Mr. Bedzrah said that he now realizes that his people, his colleagues, would do anything to avoid scrutiny or shame. And would this be a different case if it was just in-camera hearing without a public hearing like we're seeing? Would it have made any difference, Doc? Let me start with you, Dr. Osai-Kwapong.
So, let me quickly go back to the 8th Parliament. When I used to observe a lot of the acrimony and adversarial politics in the 8th Parliament, I attributed that to the numbers, right? So it's a closely divided Parliament, and therefore it made consensus building extremely difficult, and therefore the members of Parliament then would resort to this sort of adversarial, very hostile type of politics on key matters that came before the House. But then I look at the early days of the 9th Parliament, and you're seeing again that same atmosphere again, and so you ask yourself, what is it, or where have we gotten to as an institution in Parliament, where where the business, parliamentary politics, interaction between the MPs is becoming this hostile. And part of the reason I'm thinking is maybe we are becoming more and more deeply partisan and deeply polarized. But even beyond that, there has to be something else that is explaining the kind of chaos or even some of these early tensions that we're seeing in the very early days of the 9th Parliament. So would it make a difference if it's a public hearing or if it's closed doors? For what happened, I appreciate the fact that it is a public hearing. The Ghanaian public needs to see and observe some of these things, and Parliament needs to become more conscious of the fact that their standing in the eyes of Ghanaians, as reflected in the Afrobarometer survey, is not the best. And some of these things hopefully would force them to begin to rethink the way they treat each other or the way they go about parliamentary politics. Because there's a certain, there's work to be done to redeem some of the low perceptions that the Ghanaian public is having about Parliament as an institution and members of Parliament.
Right. Mr. Obeng, same question. I mean, does the issues, in fact, let me extend and say all the issues that have come up throughout the vetting process, do they reflect deepened polarization in our Parliament? And would this have made any difference if it was not a public hearing, if it was in-camera hearing?
Everyone knows the stance of Parliamentary Network Africa, myself, on opening up parliamentary sittings and committee sittings to the public. I mean, Parliament is the house of the people. Parliamentary information belongs to the people. And global best practice says that parliamentary sittings, to the extent possible, must be open to the public. And so we are stickless to opening up parliamentary proceedings to the public. And there are parliamentary proceedings that are open to the public the world over. And we know what kind of outcomes there are. Of course, there are challenges with opening parliamentary proceedings to the public in a country where people like to play to the gallery, and when they see the cameras, they like to appeal to their base. And so that balance must always be sought. Now, and so, I mean, it must be public. And of course, the committees always have the opportunity to have in-camera sessions when they think that circumstances requires that. And so that is why I will not fault Honorable Bedzrah and his committee in saying that there are some of the testimonies that they would want to take in camera. This is also allowable, and they are at liberty to do so. But when it comes to the polarization, you see, I agree 100% with these comments that have been made by Doc, on what may be accounting for this, except to add an additional layer. That's because in the 8th Parliament, everybody that was involved in all of this uncouth behavior went unpunished. It emboldened people. And so the 9th Parliament provides for us an opportunity to let people know that, look, this is not going to be business as usual. Because, you see, I watched the proceedings of that night, and I saw first-time MPs who are less than 1 month in the House, because they had seen what had happened before they joined Parliament, thought that this is okay. These were first-time MPs who are not members of the committee, but decided that they were going to storm a committee room of another committee, not as friends of the committee, which is allowed. If you're a member of Parliament, you can join any committee as a friend of the committee. But this time around, as enemies of the committee to cause destruction, in my opinion. You know, and this is because they saw their seniors do it on the night in which Speaker Babin was elected. They saw their seniors do it during the e-levy period. They saw their seniors do it during the whether a deputy speaker can chair and vote, you know, all of those chaos, and all of those went unpunished. So far as they are concerned, it's a culture that even elevates you in Parliament. So as a first timer, why not do it so that I will be noticed? If they see that, oh wow, 3 of our leaders have been suspended by virtue of this, those in leadership even can get suspended, even if it's for a day or 2, then they know that there are whips that can be cracked. And they will be guided.
Okay. Now, to another matter, also in Parliament, we saw that the Member of Parliament for Akim North, Asante Akim North, Ohene Frimpong, decided to speak in his local dialect, the Akan language, and the implications of that, the time spent, not wasted, to interpret everything he said in Twi in English for the benefit of those who don't understand Twi. What do you make of this? Should we be encouraging using local languages in Parliament? Dr. John Osai-Kwapong.
Yes, we should. He's representing his people. He's communicating, you know, in a way that others can understand. Yes, you're right. There's then the element of translating it for the purposes of the parliamentary record, you know, and all of that. But if there are opportunities to use, you know, the local language in the conduct of parliamentary business, I welcome that. I mean, I know that most of the time, English is always the medium of communication. Yeah. So this was different, and let's see how many try to do it and what it does to the conduct of parliamentary business.
Well, let's also contemplate before you take your leave. Or, Sweetie, were you going to pose that same question to
Samuel Bing?
Well, Samuel Bing, your reaction on that before we move on.
Yes, let me just state that this is actually allowable by the orders of Parliament. It's been done in the past, albeit in different forms. And just yesterday when this happened, not only the Honorable Independent MP for Asante Akim North, he wasn't the only person. The Honorable Member for Pandai, Mr. Martin Yendam, also spoke in his local dialect.
Right.
On the floor. Now, this is refreshing. The Standing Orders of Parliament says that Parliament will put in place measures to ensure that there is interpretation, simultaneous interpretation for some of these things. Unfortunately, and of course, we know for a country that has so many languages, it can be very difficult to do that. The Parliament does not even have interpretation arrangements yet. And so they've adopted that regular practice that if you know, I mean, we've had instances where people will say a proverb in their local language, you are asked to interpret that. And for me, if my member of Parliament can speak on the floor of Parliament in a language that I can understand, so that when it is being played by my local community radio stations during their news bulletin, it wouldn't be English, which gets translated to me, but I'm hearing my MP, you know, the sound bites from Parliament directly speaking to me. It doesn't matter about time. There are many, many time wasters in Parliament or time wasting endeavors in Parliament, which goes unnoticed.
Right.
And I don't think that a member of Parliament speaking directly to the people that have sent him or her to represent them is one of those at all.
Okay, thank you. Over to you then.
Well, so just to proceed from there, we want to quickly take a swipe at the new deputy ministerial nominations that have come through from Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Deputy Justice Shremsai. Interestingly, Justice is part of his name. And then you look at the likes of Dr. Clementa Park for Education as a deputy. You look at the likes of John Dumelo as a deputy for Agric. You look at the likes of Yusuf Suleimana as a deputy for Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and it goes on and on. Samson Aye in there as well. Quick reflections on these nominations, a lot of young blood also in there. I'll start with you, Samiobi.
Well, anytime the list of ministerial nominees come through from when Mr. President announced the first three, I think, it's very refreshing to see the individuals involved. Most of them, people that you can trust that they can be able to do the work and all of that. But, well, we had those same kind of refreshing thoughts and moments in 2017 when His Excellency the President then, not only announced this list, but also touted the prowess of the individuals, spoke to us about their qualifications, about who they are and all of that. And we saw the outcome. And so for me, the name's great, the people awesome. But I think the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating, and we want to see how they perform in their roles. Two observations, general observations, though, is that I am worried that, just like colleague organizations that are within the affirmative action conversation, that we are still not, nowhere close to the threshold of women representation we only have about 4 more deputy ministers to be nominated, so the president hits 60. And the percentages are not looking good. We know the challenges of appointing ministers, the regional balance issue, appointing from parliament and all of that. And with the parliament that has less than 15% being women, all of these dynamics can be quite challenging. But we wish that it would have been more women in this regard. The second thing, which for me as Executive Director for Parliamentary Network Africa, an organization that watches Parliament closely, is that we still have a good number of people in Parliament who people would have wondered, but this person could be minister, could be deputy minister. Why are they not in the list? The good thing about that is that it leaves room for many of these great people also to take up parliamentary committee leadership roles, which is extremely important. In the last parliament, many of the best and brightest were taken out of parliament to be ministers. And so you saw committees being chaired by individuals who ordinarily would not have been committee chairpersons or committee vice chairpersons. But this is going to be different because we are seeing some people who, former ministers would have ordinarily been expected to become ministers, deputy ministers, now left with parliament to do legislative work. And that would mean that they will become, chairpersons of committees. Remember also that the standing orders allows for some committees to be chaired by the minority. So we have some former ministers and co also becoming chairpersons of committees. This is so important for the parliamentary oversight work, and I'm excited about it. And that's why I would always encourage the constituencies who do not have their members of parliament being ministers, and because of that are taken to vandalism and co, to recognize that there are even bigger work in parliament as chairpersons of committees, vice chairpersons of committees, that their members of parliament could do, and it would all lead to the ultimate growth and benefits of our motherland, Ghana.
Thank you so much, Samuel Beng, Executive Director, Parliamentary Network Africa, for helping us put in perspective everything happening in our parliament. But Dr. John Osai Kwapong, please stay. We get to the second belt of our conversation.
Actually, I'm putting that same question to Dr. Kwapong before. So thank you, Samuel Beng. Dr. Kwapong, your reaction to that?
Two things about these appointments, especially with some of the younger generation that you're seeing. My observation is that there's a long-term strategy behind that. I feel like the NDC as a party is preparing, the next generation of leadership for the party. Just as Mr. Samuel Beng also said, and credit to the president. He's been very intentional about ensuring that, his appointments also reflect as best as possible some gender balance beyond also the regional balance. For this list, though, I didn't see a lot of that gender balance in here. But when all of the appointments are done, including not just ministerial positions or deputy ministerial positions, but the CEOs of parastatals and other public, other state-owned enterprises, etc., hopefully he will be able to achieve the goal of that 30% promise during the campaign. Because the affirmative action bill actually even wants more than just 30%. But I believe that when all is said and done, he'll be able to achieve that. I just didn't see that reflected in this new list that came up.
All right. Stay with us, Dr. Kwapong. We're getting into the conversation on U.S. aid and how it's been truncated across the board. Ghana standing to lose some 137.7 million. But also joining us in the studio, we have Nanaya Mreku. He's an international relations analyst with a focus on Africa and beyond. He joins the conversation. Nanaya, good morning. All right. I would like us to get into some of the data right before we come into the studio on what exactly is happening. So how much has Ghana received annually on average from the U.S. aid package? $150 million. It covers areas such as education, health, economic growth, agriculture, and governance. All of that going into the $150 million. Now, what we requested for 2025, $137.7 million, still to go into those crucial areas, including into agriculture, about 33 million into agriculture. And if you look at the breakdown for health, you are looking at $69.2 million. Now, if we move from health, education is $15.9 million. And then we go to the next one, $33 million for agriculture. And it goes on and on. If you look at climate, dealing with climate-related issues, $3 million. That's how much has been put forward for some of these critical issues. So there's the package as you see it. And the question then is, what happens to us in this 90-day window? Let me come into the studio first. Nanaya Mreku is here, sweetie.
Yes, Nanaya, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ben has given us the facts, the figures there, but this is your area of expertise. So tell us, how crucial is USA's funding to Ghana's development agenda?
Well, good morning to your viewers once again. I think it's a very crucial development, considering how much comes into the country through US aid package. And it's very crucial to the extent that it goes into very significant, areas in the country. The statistics you just put up, health, health is very, very significant. And I think the amount we're expecting to go into health this year was almost $70 million. And the fact that this is going to be truncated has serious implications, consequences for the health sector. There is a large span of people whose entire livelihood is dependent on US aid. You have entire clinics that run on monies that are provided from US aid. Antiretroviral drugs. These are very crucial to the survival of HIV patients.
Yeah.
And these have been highly subsidized, by US aid packages. There are malaria preventive measures, maternal health issues. These are very crucial for the survival of people out there. And the fact that there's a hold on US aid package to Ghana and across the globe means that we are going to be suffering from these areas. Talk about agriculture, talk about education. So these are very, very important aspects that Ghana is going to bear the branch of it. And it's not only happening in Ghana, it's happening across the African continent. We see how South Africa is struggling to find its feet as far as aid packages to that country is concerned.
Right.
But I think it's important for us to understand that diplomacy and dialogue is important. I'll come to the other side of how we need to find our own means to take care of ourselves. But going forward, I think it was Henry Kissinger who said, nations do not have friends, they have interests. So it depends on you to find where...
They don't have permanent friends, they only have permanent
allies.
interests.
Yeah. So it depends on where your interest lies. Look at how big South Africa is. It has found a way to get to talk to Elon Musk by talking to Elon Musk's father in South Africa. So maybe there is a way that crucially, immediately, Ghana can go into some diplomatic talks with US and find out which areas are so crucial that they probably have to provide us with some waivers so they can turn on the tap of aid immediately before we try to find our own feet, which is going to be the lasting solution going forward. We can't continue to be at the beck and call of other nations to support certain crucial, areas. And I think COVID should have taught us all the lessons that we needed by now. Going forward, we need to carry our own sandbag when it comes to taking care of certain, crucial areas. But I think it's more even to the effect of U.S.'s domestic politics having ramifications across the globe.
I was just going to say that we know these are conversations in Congress, their Congress, about budget cuts and all that. So for the benefit of our audience, as briefly as you can, how did we get here? What exactly are they trying to achieve that is affecting us here in Ghana?
So Donald Trump ran on the campaign that he was going to save the public purse in the U.S. So he establishes what you call Department of Government Agency, which is not an official department sanctioned by Congress anyway, but the person that is leading it is Elon Musk. Elon Musk takes his authority, singular authority from Donald Trump. And as part of saving U.S. public purse, he decided to review what goes into U.S. aid because they think that it's taking a toll on U.S.'s purse. So he decided to review what goes into U.S. aid and the operations nationwide. Yeah. Because the operational budget of U.S. aid is $40 billion annually. And Elon Musk and Trump are trying to say that it is not really achieving U.S.'s foreign policy, U.S.'s national interest. So if you look at Elon Musk's Twitter page yesterday, he said how many countries in the world takes taxpayers' money and push it to U.S. In other words, U.S. is doing something that no country is doing. Right. So they need to review how much goes into U.S. aid. And Donald Trump has agreed to put a 3-month hold on U.S. aid package. And then they are going to review what goes into it. And it's affecting U.S. workers across the globe that are on U.S. aid budget. Almost 10,000 workers on U.S. aid. So it's something that they are seeking to purge, as they say, to save U.S. purse from its global outreach.
Right, Ben.
I'll go to Dr. Kwapong, but I wanted to start with you. The U.S. may be doing some things that other nations don't do, but we have Japanese aid, we have Norway and what they do, we have the UK, indeed.
Korean,
all of these entities are using what you know very well, soft power, because then it plays into their agenda, so to speak. In the end, is this something that maybe the Americans will rule moving into the future? Because the Chinese are getting quite a footprint in Africa with projects. The West usually uses soft power. Is this something that could burn the fingers of the U.S.?
That's a very interesting question. There is a new Secretary of State for the United States, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has said that the U.S.'s foreign policy going forward is structured around 3 things. It is not, if that foreign policy is not making U.S. stronger, if it is not making U.S. safer, it's not making U.S. prosperous, they are shying away from it. And I understand that you mentioned all these other sources of packages to Africa, but the greatest donor for the African continent is U.S. Between 2017 to 2024, U.S. has poured $8 billion into Africa. 73% of that has gone into health. So that should tell you how important U.S. is.
This is an economy worth what? $15+ trillion. Yes. What is $8 billion to such an economy?
Well, it's important if you look at exactly where it is going. Health sector. You might think that it's not important. I mean, look at South Africa.
I'm not saying it is not. Right. But I'm saying if you do the comparative what this does in terms of U.S.'s image in Africa.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you go that tangent. But the other side of the argument is Trump is saying, and this has been from the corners of Marco Rubio, that it is true that they are seeking to counterbalance the influence of China. But if whatever they are doing is not inuring to the benefits of U.S.'s foreign policy, they are not doing it. They think that U.S. aid is taking a life of its own, that is not really taking advice from the Secretary of State, from the White House, and from the Council of National Security. But they are beginning to behave like their master is global politics or the globe and not from the United States. Okay. That they are taking taxpayers' money and investing into global charity when it should inure to the benefit of, Okay. But the other thing I just briefly want to mention is that U.S. aid was established in 1961 by John F. Kennedy. But by 1998, it had become a legislative instrument in Congress. So if Donald Trump wants to, rule it out, it's not surely going to work through executive instrument. And he gravely miscalculated how Americans are going to, react to, what is happening. So this is a very interesting development that we need to see how it's going to impact. But I think it's a wake-up call for African leaders. Look.
I mean, it's like a win-win. Win in the sense that these things may be getting cut off, but at the same time, we have to wake up. Yes. That's what it means.
Let's give Dr. John Osai Kwapong a chance to bite at this. Doc, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this conversation at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, beyond just USAID, there's this intentional effort on the part of this Trump administration to dismantle the federal administrative state. Now, Republicans have traditionally had issues with what they have always called big government. But that big government was usually about the powers of the federal government, what it can do, what it cannot do, and how much the federal government spends, on trying to address, various public issues. But this is this is very different. It's not just USAID, it's really across all agencies of the entire federal government system. It's a very worrying time. But if you look at the implications of this USAID move on the globe, right? If you think about how much USAID spends, particularly in the developing part of the world, using Ghana as an example, that this has some serious consequences for the countries involved. Now, I don't know if the US, part of their calculus is, in the long term, they don't think this will also hurt their own strategic interest. Because as Benjamin said, aid is a kind of soft power that you use to establish global influence. And perhaps they believe that this administration believes that they can use a different kind of approach to continue to exert global influence. But again, the other implication then is, it's, as has already been said, it's a wake-up call for us. I mean, I know that the Akufo-Addo government way back in 2017 came up with this idea of Ghana Beyond Aid and produced what was, in my opinion, a very good conceptual document of how we can begin to take steps, active steps to wean ourselves off dependence on aid. Yes, that conversation, that effort did not go anywhere, but it is time for us to revisit this. Yes, Trump will be in office for just 4 years. And after 4 years, if a different administration, let's say a Democrat wins the office, some of these things will be reversed. But at the same time, you have to start finding ways of saying to yourself, how do I wean myself off foreign aid so that when we go through these upswings and downswings, that as a country, you'll be prepared to support your own budget. I mean, look at the area of health, just as you showed, in your infographic, and the millions that Ghana is looking to get just for fiscal year 2025. How do you do that? How do you keep all of your programs going? These are very worrying times, but hopefully in this moment of crisis too, our own leaders will start being strategic about our own development and how we learn to do that without excessive dependence on foreign aid.
Doc, reactions have been pouring in since and there's a statement really that we'll bring it to you in a bit. But you also mentioned that maybe some of these actions will be reversed, which makes me want to think, do you think this is un-American? Because even if you don't follow the politics of America, you know that they're saviors of the world, purported saviors of the world. They go into countries and liberate, coup makers and all that. And here we are hearing that they're shutting down aid from the US. Is that un-American? And how's the reaction in America? You live there. How are they reacting to this?
You're right. It's not the US, the charitable United States that we've come to know over the years, right? Republican, Democrat, the US has always used foreign aid to establish its footprints across the globe. So this is very different. This is a very different era. In terms of the reaction in the US, yes, there are concerns, but at the same time, those who are staunch, diehard supporters of the Trump administration continue to lend him support. But for me, what I keep saying is that if he, there are other areas. For example, he's looking at eliminating the Department of Education. Ultimately, when a lot of these things are done and the federal administrative state is dismantled in certain crucial areas, and people begin to feel the effect, because sometimes people think that it is only those who did not vote for him who would feel the consequences of some of these things. But no, it would affect every American. And maybe it would give them a chance to at least start asking some questions of maybe we are pushing this agenda a little too far. But I mean, for me, it's a very worrying time. It's a very concerning time, especially if you also look at the role of Elon Musk in all of this, right? That there's this idea that there's something wrong with government, and the way you fix that something wrong with government is to dismantle it. I worry about an approach to government reforms like that.
Nana Miracle, right. Ben, you come in before I come back in the studio, if you're going to, Doc.
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just want you to get a bite at it too. An American?
Well,
I saw that word on Twitter and I thought, wow, what a way to phrase it.
Right. I think, like Doc said, this is not something very usual of the Americans trying to take a backseat in multilateral arrangements. And I think I had said elsewhere that, U.S. is more influential in some of these multilateral arrangements when it's in it than to be influential outside it. It's very problematic when it's outside it. But I also think that, you see, we need to understand how Trump, look, I have said that Trump is a quantified figure. He's a known quantity. We know how he behaves. He is what you call transactional pragmatist. Within the past few weeks he's been in power, we have seen how, he's somebody who likes to take credit for doing things. He likes to be seen as a winner. Within the past few weeks, we've seen how he's made countries like Canada, Mexico, Colombia fall in line with some of his demands. He has a strategy. He threatens, and then he gets you to the negotiation table. And then once you're on the negotiation table, you know that you have to make some concessions to get what you want. My perspective or my opinion going forward is that the American citizens are good. Now, he gravely miscalculated how the Americans view U.S. aid. There's a whole lot of protest against it. I think that there are going to be specific instruments within U.S. aid that he is going to create waivers for. And I think that it is not going to last within the 3 months because American policymakers are pushing against it. There are some specific instruments in U.S. aid that is specifically, in the interest of the United States to maintain them. And I don't think it will last up to the 3 months. Some of them he is going to create waivers for. And I think Marco Rubio has echoed these approaches. So I think that as much as it may be un-American, but the other thing is also that the American taxpayer doesn't owe anybody outside U.S. any responsibility. Fact. They are doing what is important for their country. So you as, a president, and I heard Uhuru Kenyatta made a very, and my heart, I like a lot of respect for him. He said, why are people complaining about what Trump is doing? Yeah. What are you doing in your own countries? If we are not packing monies out of our countries and sending them to the Caribbeans to keep offshore accounts, these monies will be used to develop our own countries. Yes. I think what Trump is doing is very good for African leaders. We need to wake up and take responsibilities in our hand. It might not be as immediate as it could be, but it is 7 shivers down our spine that we need to take care. We need to put our house in order, right? So that when these things happen, there won't be an unexpected shock, but it will be something that we can take care of.
Right, Ben.
Well, you can trust Trump to hold the carrots and wield the stick at the same time.
That is what Roosevelt said.
Yeah. Yes. and this bit about Uhuru Kenyatta is something I wholly support. I've said, just like the Burkinabe leader said, it says for 63 years we've got aid from France. Right. We haven't developed. If it doesn't come. But at the same time, you look at the other side of it and why Americans may be concerned. Because all of these also have immigration concerns in there. Some of this aid also helps control certain things. People staying put in their own countries and more.
That's true.
The question I wanted to ask you had to do with the $8 billion, but I'll come back to you on that. Joining the conversation, we have Canton Salifu Isifu. He is director of the CDA. It's a Ghana Community Development Alliance. Now, they are gravely affected by this decision by Donald Trump. and we're going to engage him briefly. A very good morning to you, Mr. Isifu.
Good morning, my dear brother. How are you doing?
I am well, and I hope you are too.
Oh, grace is keeping us.
Right. Let's go straight for the jugular. You do some good work. Tell us exactly what you do and how U.S. aid funding not coming, at least, not certainly, within the next 3 months, is going to impact what you do.
Well, thank you very much. Actually, initially I hesitated to make a comment, but when I was called upon, I said, well, I'll just share something very briefly. So we are a Ghanaian registered non-profit, and currently we are a subcontractor on a couple of USAID-funded programs in Ghana.
Please speak up for me, Mr. Isifu.
Okay, sorry. Like I indicated, I said we are a Ghanaian NGO, registered NGO that operates largely in the north, and we are also a subcontractor on a couple of USAID-funded programs in Ghana, mainly in education, health, agric, and also sanitation sectors. And generally, we have a team of about 45 staff. About 37 of them are directly on USAID's subcontracts that they are employed in. So what this means is that those staff will be affected. We probably, if the situation is not reversed, we probably would have to lay them off. They will not contribute directly in paying taxes to the government, and they will not be able to honor their obligations to Social Security and other agencies that we are obligated to do so. So in terms of the downside, there are real impacts.
So you're talking about redundancy. You're going to be forced to lay people off.
Yes, if the situation continues, because they are employed under specific projects and their salaries are drawn from those projects. Once those projects are probably not continued, they are following the review, or they are continued, or this 90-day period definitely puts a very difficult situation on us, since we will not be able to get funds to directly pay for their compensation and benefits. So what that means is that if the situation continues, within our small organization, close to 35 or so Ghanaian youth who are working on various sectors may not have an opportunity to work and may not be able to contribute to the development and economy of their country. Besides what they do directly, contributing to health, education, service delivery, various sectors in districts and regions in Ghana, once this measure continues, it means that they will lose the opportunity to make those contributions. But broadly, like you have all said, this is a major wake-up call to all of us who are into this social service sector, particularly the NGO community. If we look at USAID, they probably, in my own estimation, contributes between 60 to 70% of global aid. If that is knocked off, there's going to be a huge shortfall in terms of global aid, and many people in this space are likely to be completely knocked out of business. So for me, as a Ghanaian and as a civil society person, I'm beginning to think through what our options are, what alternatives are available for us, how can we reorganize and look at our work within the context of social enterprises that then gives us a lifeline to survive when these things happen. You cannot begrudge the people of the United States. It's their taxpayers' money. They have chosen to apply some in global aid. If there's a new leadership that thinks otherwise, it can have dire consequences globally, but then it reignites conversations around how we can survive beyond these difficulties that sometimes would occur.
Just my final bit to you. My colleague, Sweetie, will come in as well. Does that mean that if this shortage of funds is protracted, if it lasts a long time, does that mean your NGO will have to fold up at some point?
Well, we may not necessarily fold up, but what it means is that we may significantly have to downsize our work in the various districts and regions that we operate. So the impact will be that we may have to downsize, we may have to reduce our workforce, we may have to cut down on a lot of things, and our influence, our sphere of influence may also diminish. But it will also challenge us to think about alternative ways to survive in these difficult times.
In browsing for options, what have you come up with so far? I know it's early days yet, but off the top of your mind, what is your next source of funding if this money actually does not come to you anymore?
Well, that's a difficult one. Currently, we're having various meetings and reflecting and thinking through. But what we do know is that we must survive, and so difficult times require difficult decisions to be made. And so for us, it doesn't give us any indication that we have to fold up, no. But we are beginning to look at different strategies to survive in these difficult terrain.
Thank you so much. These 35 people that may or may not be laid off, if it comes down to it, can you give us the demographics? Are these young people? Are these elderly people? What does it look like?
They are mostly young people. CDA
mostly young people.
We have a total of 45 staff. The average age in the organization is 26. So it means that most of them are young graduates with masters from various universities, from all walks of life from Ghana who works in our organization. So the average age, 26. The oldest person in the organization is about 48, 49, yes. And the youngest person is about 25 or 24. So these are young people who may end up being unemployed, who probably would have said they had a decent job, but because of these difficulties, their situation may unexpectedly change into a different mode.
Mr. Canton, thank you for sharing your story with us, and we wish you the very best. Hopefully, you get some aid soon. Yeah.
And that, of course, is Canton Salifou Isifu, director of the CDA Ghana. He joined the conversation. Initially, he didn't want to speak, but he's been forced to come out and share his thoughts. What are your reactions in respect of the real impact this is going to have on the ground, tied to what I was going to ask you about, losing $8 billion as a continent and how African countries are going to react or cope?
Well, I think these are very important issues when you think that people are going to lose employment, means of livelihood.
And this is just one NGO.
This is just one
35
35, young people. Employees, yes. And like I told you, there are clinics that are run entirely on U.S. aid funds. And these people, if these aids are cut for a long time, are going to lose their jobs. In fact, this even have national security implications. If you go to the 3 northern regions, and what is going to happen there. These are dire consequences. And it doesn't matter how small the monies may appear, but if 140 million of somebody's money is coming into your coffers. In fact, I hear that it has implications for sustaining the strength of the city.
Indeed.
When these monies are injected into the economy.
From the syndicated loan to everything, exactly. They all have a role.
That is what the economists are saying. I'm not an expert in that field, but that is what I hear they are saying. So this has implication for even the national economy and how strong it is. So it's very, very important. But I'm also particularly concerned about what this means, this $8 billion, what it means for U.S.'s national security interest as well. Because look, when COVID happened, it was in China, thousands of miles away. I was in Yale by then. But in the community, New Haven that I was, you could see how people were panicking and how they were rushing to get their shot. The point I'm making is that Mpox is raging through Eastern Africa, right? You have U.S. diplomats, you have U.S. people that are on the continent. And it's a transnational threat. You move from Ghana, you go to U.S., people carry the disease along with them. So when you truncate this aid and they are unable to carry out research, that puts a stop to these kind of global pandemics. You are causing a global health crisis.
Remember what I said about immigration?
Yes. So I think that, and that is why I say that Trump is a transactional pragmatist. So people must rein into his head how these things are very crucial to the U.S.'s own survival. And it's about making a case. It's about bringing the issue. The CDD director for Africa has said that, look, these monies are very, very crucial to carry out research into some of these global health crises. So if you think you are thousands of miles away and so you are unaffected by what happens in another country, like I keep saying, there's a saying in my local parlance that when you see the animal devouring, preying on some other entity, tell them to get off us, not get off me. You understand? In other words, these are very important issues that are next to the doorstep of the United States. And I think that, you know, African leaders, as much as I want them to find their own ways of sustaining some of these crucial areas, they must also, you know, do these diplomatic talks with the U.S. embassies and the U.S. ally, and let them know how important it is to the U.S.'s own national interests. Because Trump wants something for, you know, for something. So I think these are very important dynamics that, you know, we can begin to explore. But most importantly, if Ghana, if I were a consultant for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, what I'll tell them is, if you are going to talk to the U.S. embassy, as much as you are laying the fundamentals for how important it is to them to restore some of these aids to us, also bring to the table what you can also offer them. You understand? Look at Djibouti, look at Somalia. You know, we already have a military kind of agreement with them. So how can you leverage on these things? What can you bring to the table that will make them, you know, want to waive some of these aid and open the tap for you to finance your health area, your agric area, your agriculture area?
I want to throw that to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. Doc, first a reflection on the story from Mr. Isifu, and then what you make of this. Do we have enough bargaining chip to ask that they treat us specially?
You know, it was a very sad and unfortunate story to listen to as he shared it with us, to think that he may have to let go, you know, young people, creating more challenges for the unemployment situation in Ghana. And as Benjamin said, this is even just one organization. So think about all of the other organizations in Ghana doing, you know, development work, doing community work that rely on funds from, you know, an agency like the USAID. It's not a comforting time. Now, as to what Ghana can do, you know, at this point, not until someone or some persons are able to impress upon the Trump administration that some of these actions, in as much as it is driven by this idea that, you know, we want to pull back from, you know, from the world, or we want to stop doing certain things to save the taxpayer money, they would have to balance that against their own strategic interests and their own global influence. Now, I don't know how you make that case to a Trump administration where, with all due respect, a figure like Elon Musk is playing a critical role in some of these decisions to say these kinds of federal agencies are just a drain on the taxpayer money. Yes, I understand those who say is the money of the American taxpayer, and so we have to be, you know, mindful of how we spend it. All of those are legitimate arguments. But again, it is also part of US's global strategy and its own interest. And for me, when America has pulled back from the world, has not been the best times for the country. It is when we engage, it is when we show leadership, it is when we make sure that we are shaping the world globally, that enables us to maintain that image that we've always maintained. So it's a different time. Let me not say much because
we understand why you can't say much. But, you know, to both of you gentlemen, Dr. Osai-Kwapong and Nana Yaw-Breku, of course, there's some level of quid pro quo in different systems that you would need. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Not in the corrupt sense, but you give me something for something, not something for nothing. But at the same time, diplomacy is not always transactional. And I just remembered, for example, the North Korean incident with Jimmy Carter, a forced negotiator, if you like, and Bill Clinton, and not liking what was happening. But Carter went ahead and did it, and we all saw the results. For the impact of it, I don't know, time will tell. But beyond that, how do you think this is going to shape the American administration under Trump and the Ghanaian administration under Mahama? Because the impacts, we are looking at, let's be selfish, we are looking at Ghana and the US right now. What do you see? And I'll come to Nanaya on that as well.
So The Trump administration would look different. I'm sure some of these things would be subjected to a lot of litigation. Congress would have a role in deciding, for example, whether USAID goes or stays. If it stays, how it looks like. The Department of Education being one of them that they want to get rid of, all of those things. So the administration is going to look different, but time will tell how different it looks and which actions will stay and which actions would not stay, and how they'll be able to cut or not cut the federal workforce. And then when you look at Ghana, it couldn't have come at a not so good time, right? Because if you think back to the Mahama administration back in 2013, his first presidency when he took over, there were some of these global challenges, right? Which they made an argument of that it did affect our local economy, and ultimately the decision to go to the IMF for a bailout. So here you are thinking you were going into FY25 expecting these monies from USAID. And for a new administration that has also promised to eliminate certain key taxes, already under an IMF program, facing some fiscal challenges. And then this also comes in. You have to start thinking immediately and strategically how you find the resources to fill in these gaps. Do you turn to other donor partners, or do you find ways to also make tweaks to your own spending, things you've promised or not promised? So it couldn't have come at a quote-unquote a worst time for a new administration trying to get going on its policy and program priorities.
I see. Let me come into the studio with Nanayo Mriko on that same point.
Well, I think for starters, I think Trump's, and this has been my take on U.S. foreign policy towards Africa. I've always said Africa has featured as an afterthought. You know, we are not the traditional allies that you'd want them to have us. So I'm not expecting African leaders.
Trump called us a something whole.
Say again?
Trump called us the something whole.
Right. I mean, we've seen the derogatory word that is used to describe, African leaders, and getting some of our names, some of the countries' names wrong. So I think that I'm not expecting anything huge, from considering what you call this alphabet soup of president special initiatives. I'd said that it was Clinton that introduced AGOA, Bush introduced the MSCC and the PEFA, and then I think Biden introduced the Lobito Corridor. He didn't do much except the US-Africa Summit. Trump did something. He introduced what you call, it was established under the better utilization of investment leading to development. They call it BUILD, right? They call it Prosper Africa, that is the name. He introduced something like that, but it was strategically through the economic perspective. But I'm not expecting anything huge as far as Trump is concerned. And it's not going to change the relationship between US and Ghana. There are other areas that we are having some bilateral arrangement. US aid is just, one part of it. So I think that the government should rather, and I feel sorry for the Mahama administration because they have even yet to present an annual budget in Parliament. I mean, they are still going through their vetting processes. Yep. So how are they going to provide?
You can't even plug in.
Exactly. How are you?
It doesn't exist.
How are you going to do that? So I'm expecting some genius strategy to come up to deal, with these shocks. But I think that going forward, like I said earlier on, it's a wake up call. How can you prevent some of these things when they happen, in future? But I don't think it's going to upset the relationship between U.S. and Ghana. There are other areas that we think we are, multilaterally engaged. And I think that it will still go on, anyways.
Nanaya, this genius strategy, what does it look like in your eyes? I'm coming back to bargaining chip. Do we have anything that we can leverage?
The other thing I would expect is to look elsewhere, because we need this money. If you haven't planned for them, it will be I think we can raise it, but it will take time. I think we have the ability to raise it, but it will take some time, to rob Peter to pay Paul. But in the interim, as we do that, we can probably turn to the European Union, who are also seeking to counterbalance the interest of China and undemocratic regimes. Ghana is a democratic regime. We pride ourselves with that. So maybe we can turn to these countries, the European Union, we can turn to the UK for these kinds, of assistance. Maybe China might also be, somewhere to look at, but you should know that China always carries something when it's coming into your country. They will need something significantly. Exactly. So these are some of the areas that, we can tend to, if it's a matter of urgency, we can turn to our multilateral partners and talk to them about these kind of, arrangements.
Right.
Yeah.
We should be winding down. Ben, do you want to come in or should we go? Okay, Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, give us a wrap of your thoughts.
It's we live in very interesting times. And again, for me, only time would tell. Beyond USAID, I continue to really worry about this active efforts to dismantle the federal administrative state, which is driven purely by ideology and, in my opinion, some misconceptions of what government is designed to do or not to do. If we want to make government effective, in my opinion, this is not the way you go about it. But Asimesi and his friends, that's how they want to go about it. Let's see how things turn out.
You are not enthused. You are not there. You are so unenthused about this. Asimesi and his friends.
President Asimesi.
You have the final word, Nanayao.
Well, I think I'll start from the U.S. perspective. Trump ran on the campaign that he was going to disengage U.S. from the many global entanglement. And I think it's a social contract bidding he's doing. He promised his people that he was going to do something. And that is exactly, what he's doing. The only thing is that it's really hurting the image of U.S. globally. And whether Trump likes it or not, it is giving U.S. a backstage in international politics. And it creates that political vacuum for other, countries or other parties or actors to step in. But the takeaway from this for me is the wake-up call to African leaders. We have had to learn this the hard way during COVID, and it looks like we are learning it the hard way another time. Trump is somebody who talks loudly and carries a big stick, unlike what Roosevelt said, that you talk quietly and you carry a big stick. And it looks like once he's identified this as bargaining power, he's going to continue. He will punish you where he thinks he has the ability to stifle you with aid. Cyril Ramaphosa was trying to be diplomatically strong by saying that the aid coming to South Africa, which is $400 million, is just 70%. But it is this same 70% that you are calling Elon Musk's father to talk to Trump, to talk to Elon Musk, so that Elon Musk talks to what? Trump for you. Yeah. So I think that going forward, we must find ways, like the wake-up call is that African leaders must find ways to sustain themselves, homegrown policies, so that we don't go looking embarrassed and looking very susceptible and lacking agency in some of these things.
Well, in the end, if you asked me, I would say the money likely will come, either in some other form or to a lesser degree.
Right.
But we must be ready to take care of ourselves, whether or not it comes. But if you look at how strategically and policy-wise this has been framed, let's face it, Trump can't hold this for too long.
Right.
The Americans themselves are resisting him, but it's a lesson, like we said. We have to mind our own, so that if someone decides, the person giving you food every day decides today, I'm not giving you food, you'll not go hungry the whole day. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Nanaya Omreku is an international relations analyst, and he has a special love for Africa. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, he's a CDD fellow. We also had Samuel being Executive Director, Parliamentary Network Africa, joining the conversation. And then we also had Emmanuel Bedzrah, Chairman of the Special Committee investigating the vetting chaos. And we had Canton Salifu, whose group, the CDA Ghana, is directly impacted by President Donald John Trump's actions. But in the midst of all of this, your heart may be beating an extra beat here and there. Let me tell you about health matters and why you should be going to Medicas Hospital, a modern healthcare facility built with your recovery in mind. They also have spacious wards built with your family in mind, a warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind. And guess what? They have assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Yaosafo, the drive-time doctor, to serve you. And they also have on offer general medical services as well as specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, and eye care. And there's still more. They also offer a comprehensive medical diagnostic service encompassing endoscopies, medical laboratory services, x-rays and scans, And if you're thinking of getting effective and efficacious medicine, they have a 24-hour pharmacy ensuring you get exactly that. And it's also affordable. And they are bringing to you the most powerful medicine of all: simple human kindness and empathy. They take pride in holding themselves to the highest attainable standards. And they also accept all forms of payment. So if you're thinking private health insurance, no worries, you're sorted out. Locate Medicas Hospital at number 10 Kincho Street near the Ashalibutri School Junction. You can call them on 0501 477 340. On social media at Medicas GH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing.
Let me tell you about SolarMate Ghana. You want to select solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 Ghana cedis to 99,000 Ghana cedis. All our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. So get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. We also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. Google SolarMate Ghana to find us both on Facebook and on Instagram, or simply contact us on 050-832-0470. SolarMate Ghana is located at Adrinkano, East Legon. SolarMate, we go everywhere. We'll be right back, and you get to have your say on the AM show. Start dialing. We'll be right back. Have your say on the AM show. We are ready for you. Then?
Well, we only have time for about 1 or 2 calls. We have Erastus on the line. Erastus, you're calling from Takrady, right? Hello, Erastus? Oh, I hope we've not lost Erastus. Erastus, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on line. My name is not Erastus, it's Raphael. That's right.
Oh.
Raphael, rather.
Raphael, well, pardon my changing your name this morning. Please go ahead with your thoughts for us. Why? What are your thoughts?
Okay, my thought is, hello, are you listening?
Yes, we are listening.
Okay, my humble thought is, I listened to your conversation with Mr. Bedzrah or something like that, MP for. And the conversation, he was making points like, they are waiting for the speaker. Speaker is not aware, and now the speaker is giving go ahead. So my question is, in their area of jurisdiction, don't they have any formal reporting lines whereby they can update the speaker on whatever is happening in the vetting committee, and the speaker will also give them their input? And it's like, it's just unfortunate. Parliament is the third arm of the government, and if they are not able to put these basic things together, I mean, it's just unfortunate. But secondly, that's just by the way. I want to talk about the vet. You know, I want those who are in charge of the vetting to know that the vetting that they are doing is not they are not sake of vetting. They are educating the public as well. You know, when you watch some of them, especially I happen to watch the Muntaka version. You know, when you watch the person, the nominee, you can even imagine his body language, his composure, how to attempt a high-profile question, and how high-profile question is asked. So all these are basic learning that the general public are learning. So they shouldn't think that, oh, it's just a version for the ministerial procedure, so they will just do it in the sake of version, because people are learning. So it's unfortunate that the other time, the nominee for the Greater Accra region, the lady, she was not vetted, and it's totally disappointing to the general public, because especially the lady, they are watching how their fellow lady will be attempt to answer such a high profile, so that they may also copy or learn something out of it. But it didn't come on.
Great.
And also,
Raphael, thank you so much for calling. That's all that time will allow us for. That's our time for the AM show. Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate you staying with us. Ben, right before we go, I just want to say belated happy birthday going to Rosalind Felly. She's just next door hosting the Prime Morning Show on Joy Prime. Happy birthday. We love you. We appreciate you. And we see you, girl. Glow on.
Well, on the matter of birthdays, happy birthday to Emmanuel Achia. It's your birthday and your sweetheart sent a message. So Emmanuel Achia, and you be Achia, and you Achia. She says, we pray for great strength and long life from the throne room upon your life. Emmanuel, have a happy birthday. And of course, I'm adding my voice to Rosalind Felly, belated birthday wishes to her. And that's how we cap it off this morning. Raphael, thanks for holding so long on the line when you called. For about 7 to 10 minutes you were on the line, just waiting to have your say. We are grateful. That's how we end it. My name is Benjamin Akakpo.
And I'm Sweetie Abochi. We're back same time tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. But for now, stay for Faustina Safo. She serves you Joy News Desk. Bye for now.